So we're going to do a follow-up on this video that you may have seen at the Soldiers Home. We are going to be doing a follow-up on the video that we just shared at the Soldiers Home. You might have seen that propaganda press conference, and we're going to really go over it. Just waiting for the link here. Right here. 1 second. So I'm still waiting for the link, but I'm going to hit play on the video.
Because this is a private residence center, and I think tests are circulated that too.
Do you live here? What do you mean, no? What do you mean, no? New building opening? You know it's built. I know that. We're gonna ask you for
All right.
Oh.
We're live now?
We're live. I'm sending you the link right now. Copy. I might have sent you the wrong link, so give me 1 second. We're about to go over everything you see in this video, so stand by. We are about to go over everything you see in this video. And okay, check your email, Ryan.
Okay.
We got Ryan Thompson with us as well. He's a researcher of the National Soldiers Home, and we're looking forward to discussing this
And this is a
important
Google Drive
issue.
link?
No, check the next one. Sorry about that.
Gotcha.
So
Okay, I'm sending.
if you're just tuning in on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, X, Instagram, please share, please hit the like. We are going to do a deep dive. We are going to do a deep dive on the video that was shared from the National Soldiers Home, the propaganda press conference that was closed. We shared the full video today on YouTube, as you saw here.
Make sure I got that out right. Okay, excellent. So
And here she said, Senate, thanks for coming out. We'll restart it for those joining.
Because this is a private residence center, and I think
We got the
tests
chat
are
up.
circulated that too.
Do you live here?
all right. Oh, hold on, just 1 second.
Yep.
Oh no, don't worry about it. All good.
So, what are you thinking?
Well, let's. What happened? I think let's answer that first, just in case folks haven't seen this. What day was this that you went down to the Soldiers Home, and how'd you end up over there?
Yeah. So, I've been advocating for veterans and trying to raise awareness. Sometimes they go through different issues and want me to show up in different capacities. And on this particular day, it was on. Was
it 2 days ago?
Yeah, it was Thursday.
Oh, actually, more than 2 days ago.
It was Thursday.
And so, I mean, I'm just trying to remember because there's a bunch of text messages. What was being said? I mean, what was the call to action? Let's say.
Yeah, the call to action. It was Thursday, the 22nd, January 22nd, 2026, and I got a call from a resident that said that there was some type of press conference going on. They weren't sure what was going on. They saw 3 big black buses, which was essentially blocking all of their parking, and then lots of other vehicles coming in pretty large numbers. And all of those vehicles were parking in the veteran residents that were living at the Soldiers Home, which is like the, often known as the
Parking
West
in their
Los
parking
Angeles
spots?
VA. Yeah, they were parking in their parking spots. And I got a video of a resident that was pretty upset because he didn't know who these people were. A lot weren't wearing suits and, had different badges. Again, 3 buses were blocking everything. And he called and said, what's going on? And would you mind checking it out?
Right. And so when you got down there, I guess we'll take a look at it. But what was going on? I mean, maybe we should just kind of review that.
Yeah. You mean play the video?
Yeah. I mean, just maybe for starters, just to get a gauge of where we're at and what everybody's saying.
Yeah. So right when I get there, I noticed some police outside, and I start walking up. And then I walk up on these 4 individuals, and I could turn on the volume if it's too loud here, but Let me just turn it.
I mean, maybe we just play it
Yeah.
through, the beginning part of it, and that way we
Yeah,
can.
so Lainey Kapkin is this woman here. And she was one of the people I saw in the video that was like allowing, I don't know if she,
Yeah. By the way, let's stop. What is this building right here? I mean, what does this look like to you? I know it's new construction, but
I mean,
what do we think that is?
it looks like a Shake Shack or something, or a bank. It was
Yeah, it
like,
looks like a bank branch office or
yeah,
something like that. Can we back up a little bit to get the rest of it in camera?
yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, yeah, I mean, so we got a one-story building here. I guess we'll see how big it is once you go inside. And I'm pretty sure where this is. Let me. I'm actually going to take a look at something together here, just so we get an idea where we're at.
Are you able to share?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Let's see here. 156, 158, window. Here we go. All right.
Let's add to the scene.
So great. So this is like a the private developer racket's official site plan or whatever for building 156 and 157, and that's Bonsall Avenue, right? We can see over here. So you're coming in right here, and I mean, I don't see a building in the middle of these. Do you? And the
I
site-
do not. I did not.
I don't either. But in your video, obviously, you're about to walk into one, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and these two buildings are existing buildings that are additional buildings that the private developer racket has taken over via these. I mean, I don't even know how you call it an enhanced use lease, but we'll say an EUL for now until we get further into this discussion. But this looks like the filed site plan with KFA Architects, and I guess whatever's been attached to their agreements that they do with themselves in the county. That's how I got it. But this building is nowhere to be found in between here. So that's interesting. And I have not looked entirely into this yet, but I think what maybe is going on here is they might be taking this new construction building that's not even here, and maybe there's some connection to these other buildings that they've grabbed that will have these, above market rate rental voucher units. And maybe they're going to try to say that everything's new construction, or everything should count as new construction, including those two buildings, because they joined it together, which of course leads into a whole different type of laundry or fraud of this deeds restricted property, federal property. But anyway, I think that's interesting, but let's go ahead with what you got. I'm going to close this share now.
Okay. And perfect. So
There's our invisible building in the site plan.
You're saying things I didn't say, I'm gonna go inside.
Okay.
Kenneth?
The volume's a little low.
Yep. It's as loud as it goes on that, I think. But she did say, Senate, thanks for coming out. Mind you, I don't
Yeah.
recall ever meeting her.
Oh, refreshments. What? Whose property?
It's private property. You're not a resident here.
But neither is a lot of people who just walk inside. No, I don't.
I mean, look at that. None of those are residents, are they?
No, but I mean, and let's go in too. I mean, this is one of the
Doesn't
first
even
things
look
I
like a
noticed.
residency.
The first time I watched this, I was just watching where you were, and then I had to watch it again to listen to everything.
But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are in here that aren't residents. Costanco, are you a resident?
That doesn't mean it's great. I work here. I support veterans here instead of shoving cameras in people's faces.
Thanks, Costanco. The Veterans Collective.
Yes, that's me. Thank you. Also, honorably discharged veteran. If you'd like to do an expose profile on me.
I think that's consent.
Check out episode 2. Hi, ma'am. What is this?
It's an eviction.
For who?
You have to talk to the organizers later.
Who's the organizer?
Didn't get an answer.
What is this?
Right? Is this the loudest it gets?
Let me see here. And let me know. I see a bunch of people commenting on Instagram. Let me know if you can hear the video being played. I'm going to try to see if I can get the audio up at all. Let me see if I can get the audio up at all as well. I think that's as loud as I can get it, though. Let's see, let me actually try one
See
thing.
if there's a mixer or something.
Yeah, let's see.
How you guys doing?
Might be a little better.
I was trying to understand, what is this? What kind of event is this?
Did any of these people tell you who they are? Or?
Hi,
Not
how
one.
you doing?
Asked who's organizing it.
Checking it out?
Can't figure out. He was wearing a Home Depot tag, if I'm not mistaken.
Why are you closing
But he
the
turns it over at later on, right?
It's later off, yeah.
And I think Tess articulated that too.
But do you live here?
Oh, the
This
pause.
is private residence, but do you live here?
Senate, I don't.
Okay, Lainey Kapkin.
I am.
Lainey Kapkin, what do you do for U.S. vets?
Yeah, I think it was vets. I worked there the whole time. We see each other at all of the grab, doing events.
Oh, all of the ones where they're laundering the land to kill veterans? All the ones where they're...
Residents that you've entered to film.
Oh, okay. So you're asking me not to film, or what are you asking me?
I'm letting you know that it's a private residence.
What does that
You
mean?
know the law better even than I do.
Well, we're on federal deed restricted land, is that correct? Are you guys...
I'm not here to answer.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Oh, thank you so much. I'd strongly consider whatever part of Home Depot you are, and how you doing, sir? Just checking it out. It's a new building opening. You know, it's been open.
So what are they doing? Are they like? So they're like looking at the police like, go get them or something? The door's open. I mean, what are they doing?
Yeah, they're definitely shocked that like the cop isn't just saying, the officers aren't saying, get out of here. And
Okay.
that's the confusion on Tessa's face of just why is he
that's
still
what- that's
inside?
what yeah, I think that's what I'm seeing too.
I think some residents were passing by saying hi.
How you doing, sir? I am too. What?
Yeah, you can hear that they're shouting it out there. There's Robert, resident. He was complaining that they were parking in the spot, right?
Yeah, and that the buses were just all over the place.
How you guys doing? Please consider your involvement in laundering land that's causing veteran death.
And then I saw this woman with cameras, by the way, a couple cameras on her shoulder.
Right.
Thought that was interesting.
Private event, but what kind of private event is this? Hello, sir. Good, how you doing?
And then the resident, by the way, I heard him say, maybe it was a little low, but he said, by the way, there's no residents here, Senate.
We're just trying to learn more about what's going on. If it's sure.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, and asked if I want water, and then gave me one of these.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
So Rob,
She didn't.
You could get some
Yeah,
water
go
in
ahead.
here right now.
He's trying to get in.
Okay, by the way,
could-
let's check this out, right? Let's look all the way through this glass window here, right? It goes all the way to the other side of this building, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the
it's-
community room.
There's nothing here that's housing, right? So far,
0.
zero. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, no housing, no room,
It's okay.
other than the community room that the officer can't get into. Rob can't get in there. The resident, an actual resident.
Well, she's clearly upset you're not getting arrested.
Yeah, she's got to make some phone calls because I'm still inside.
Let me find a corrupt cop. You're not the one we wanted.
Oh, more come. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh, they can only have that water.
Oh, the tap water.
Sorry. What's going on there?
Well, the resident, I don't know if I'm too loud. The resident is asking for water.
Yeah.
And because there's tons of, I think it was Fiji waters all over the place. But then he was asking for water. He was thirsty. And the door was locked. and she ended up ultimately saying he could use the water fountain outside the door, outside the community room.
They could use the water fountain. All right. So, and there's waters in the whatever the hands off room or
Dozens.
whatever.
Yeah, dozens on the counter.
Okay. So it's kind of
You'll
like,
see.
in the deep South and, this 50s or whatever, like, you people, you have this water fountain and, we people, we white collar crooks, have the Fiji water kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're just concerned on private developers laundering the land using subleases. I mean, Brian DeAndre signed both locations. He was the subleasee and the sublessor. Well, why can't Rob Candace go in there?
I don't have any comments for you on any of that.
It's really low.
None of it test. Oh yeah, there's a lot of prostitution. I've been getting those videos. Sure.
No, there's the Fiji.
I actually don't want it, but thank you, Tess. So we could hang out in here, I guess? I'll go film outside. You take care of this. This is awesome. This is really cool.
Okay, offices, more offices.
Oh my god. They are
Restrooms.
They are furious.
That community room thing, that looks like on its own, it's about 3,500 square feet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I'm seeing if I can get the volume up, but okay, let me keep playing.
How come everyone's acting so weird? What is going on here, man? It's U.S. Vets opening a building, or? You can't speak, well, what can you speak to? Everyone's got a U.S. Vets. Joanna Banks, how you doing, ma'am? Everything's locked.
It's like Ghost or something, you don't realize you're a ghost and
Private
nobody sees you.
developers laundering the land to themselves through
Correct.
subleases, enhanced use leases that the Secretary of the VA, as far as we are concerned, never signed, and anything on this deed restricted and federal property. Also, you should know that they charge veterans rent to live here. Did you know that the developer pays less rent to launder the whole building than a homeless disabled veteran? And we're really concerned about that. Do the secret knock. It's dun 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 dun. No, but really, you should look into Brian DeAndre doing the subleases. He signed both parts. Have you ever seen a contract where someone signs both parts of it, their name?
That's better, right?
Yeah, a lot better. Oh,
Are
there's the
you guys
knock.
both with U.S. Vets or just you, Miss Banks? Are you Joanna Banks, is it just you or who else? Who's laundering the land today?
So nobody
Who's
so
laundering the
far,
land?
not a single person, wants to identify themselves,
Hi, sir.
what they're doing, what the event is,
What do
who
you
they
mean,
are.
no? What do you mean, no? This is not your building at all.
Yeah, nobody's saying who they are. Nobody's saying who they work for. It's like everyone's a mute. I mean, I'm asking questions. I'm wondering if.
Yeah, and I actually contacted people, with VA staff over there, and they were like, "What?" I mean, they had no idea about this.
Yeah, I mean, usually you see that guy who programs the homeless stuff,
Yeah.
the homelessness, and he wasn't even there.
Yep.
Who are you? I'm gonna walk in. Excuse me. Excuse me, sir.
Wait, I saw a plaque behind him, but
Oh yeah,
We'll get
I
into
have a still of that, so we can
Excuse me.
take a look. That's the credit
The
roll.
cops are outside. You should go get them. There's no reason someone can't film inside this building. I mean, Century Housing has
yeah.
been signing both parts of the contract. Brian DeAndre will be the sublessor and the sublessee. And it's an enhanced use lease, which would be illegal on deed restricted and federal land.
And I'm just
Here
taking
we
note of
are.
what you're saying here to cover it.
Let's take a look.
Explain it more in a second.
Yeah, if you want me to
This
pause.
person they bought
No,
next
so,
to
okay, so here we are. Here's a whole other part of this building.
Oh
No
yeah.
residence.
Yeah, I don't even know what this would be if it was a residence. Like, this is
This
a
is
what?
like the gala room or something like that.
Yeah, this is where you take the investors.
Right.
Wow, this is a whole event? What time does this go? What time does this start at? Hello, ma'am? What time does this event start?
Okay, why don't you talk over there? They're having a meeting.
No, I'm okay. I was trying to check this out. But thank you. But what time does it start, the event? Who do you work for? Who do you work for?
I work for U.S. House.
Really? Are they laundering the building to then charge homeless disabled veterans rent? Hi, sir. Can I ask you to leave? No, I'm okay.
He said, "Can I ask you to leave?" Which I'd rather him not ask me that.
Cops are out there, so if they ask me, I will. But for now, I'm just documenting. But thank you, sir.
Oh, you know what, Senate?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Let me clarify something. I just realized something. This is very interesting. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yep.
All right, here's the site plan that they made. These are
We
the
got
two-
residents in the chat, by the way, who are saying it does quite look like a bank, and they've worked at a bank before, and the layout is nearly identical.
Yeah, and I think we're going to realize why pretty soon. Okay, so here's what's going on. Actually, this is where you entered, right here, one-story addition.
Wait, you're not sharing. I'm not seeing your screen.
Oh, let me see here. Oh, you're right.
Yeah. And we got a Christine.
Oh, you might have to
Christine
stop sharing your video. I think that's probably what it is.
No, it allowed you to do it if you can.
Huh.
Unless it says you
I'll
can't.
try it
But
again. Let's see, remove source and add a source.
the arrow up.
And then here it is.
And if anyone's watching, by the way, YouTube, Instagram, yep, add to the scene. Yeah, you're more than welcome. Please share this
There we go.
with anyone who may be interested or that you think should know about this. Veterans around the nation. Go
So
ahead.
check this out. This is it right here. One-story addition, right?
Oh wow,
See that?
one
That's
story
that little
edition.
thing, right?
That's what we're celebrating.
Yeah. So well, here I think I'm figuring out what they're trying to celebrate, and among other things. So now here's what's like. What is the purpose of that one-story addition, right? I think really the only purpose is a contract laundry. You know, I don't see what really is the efficient land use purpose of it. And here's what's interesting about it, right? It now, where you're walking is all through here. What's supposed to be the housing building, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've already left, and when you go through that other door, you've already left this one-story addition, and you're now walking in this existing federal housing building, 157. So that's all I wanted to point out because I misstated that, and now it's getting a little more interesting here. Okay, so let me stop sharing. There you are, building 157.
I come in peace, sir. What was your name? I'll introduce myself. My name is Senate. What's your name?
Nothing. Couldn't get the name.
Well, I'll walk out. I'll follow you. Just let me take one photo of this. Let me just get a
There's a
good.
credit roll.
So Century Housing, sir, they're the sublessee and the sublessor, if that makes sense. And it's really concerning that homeless disabled veterans pay rent. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Well, I can tell that everybody knows you. That's for sure.
It's pretty nice in here.
Nobody's talking to you.
Mr. Dorman. Excuse me? Mr. Dorman. I wanted to check this room out.
This room is closed.
It's closed. There's people in it.
Now you're back in the
The
one-story
cops are
addition.
out there, so I'd suggest go get them instead of following me, to be honest.
Follow me to the exit.
I'm not going to the exit. So, thank you, sir. I will, but not yet. I just wanted to film. Thank you, sir. It's really nice in here.
By the way, I saw a comment and it said like something about civil disobedience, which this wasn't even because if law enforcement told me to leave and I stayed, maybe, but it's like I'm allowed to be there given
Yeah.
what's going on.
Well, and that's because I think that the people who are there all really know that you're allowed to be there if they're there. But what we're hoping, ultimately, is that none of us need or are allowed to be there at all, because it's only for two things.
Absolutely.
Cameras, nice. Someone came for press, huh?
Oh, so they brought
Sir, where's your
a.
badge now? Where's your badge? Who are you with? Are you with Century Housing or US Vets? Are you with one of the entities laundering the land that ultimately causes veteran death here in our nation's capital of veteran homelessness and suicide? The VA police is right there, buddy. You don't have to reach out to anybody. They're standing in front of you. They're right there.
Looks like they're actively working on something.
Well, okay. What's your name, sir? Sir, what's your name? No? No comment? Okay. How you guys doing?
I bet they don't have a name either.
Are you guys aware of what's going on this land and property? I didn't, but I've heard about a lot of fraud where developers are laundering the land and charging homeless disabled veterans rent. And Century Housing, US Vets, who are you with?
I'm an event coordinator. Sorry, I don't have.
Leviosa?
Yeah, I'm down in San Diego, so I really don't know anything about what you're
Well,
talking
you
That's a big
should
budget.
know
Doesn't
about
make
what I'm
sense for it.
talking about. You should look it up.
Now,
Yes, sir.
I'm told, by the way, this guy took Brian DeAndrea's position and is a pretty high up executive at Century
Yeah,
Housing.
'cause he resigned
Oscar.
recently, right?
Did he resign already?
Yeah, I got his resignation letter or email or whatever.
Wait, when? Oh, Brian
Uh,
did. Brian.
Brian DeAndrea.
Yeah. I believe this guy took his
You want to say
position.
anything for the camera? Let us know what you think about the new opening. No?
What's that noise?
So he's the guy
photo
telling
ops.
everyone maybe to
Woo!
do this.
Possibly.
No, the cops already let me come in, so if you're not going to get in my way, sir.
Oh, someone else
Please
trying
do
to
not
get
touch
in my
me.
way.
Sir, move.
Somebody
This is
pushing you?
ridiculous.
He's not pushing me, but he's trying to do the thing where he's standing in front of me.
You here just to walk in?
So I had to like do
Who
this
does that
weird
unless something funny's
thing.
going on?
What is that? An ATM?
Who does that unless
Like
something funny's
a little
going on?
screen? I'm serious. I thought it was like a mailbox or something. What is that?
Oh, that
Screen on
Luxor
it?
thing? I don't know actually.
Unbelievable.
What is Luxor?
It's like the first half of luxury,
Unbelievable.
and then the end is like the pyramid in Vegas, right? The Luxor Hotel.
Yeah, Luxor 1. Is that for dry? Like, what is
They
that
did
thing?
get someone with a camera,
Luxor1.com.
so they intended to do some press here today. So
Maybe safety
they have
deposit
the camera,
boxes?
So can we have
What are they?
Who's she with?
Oh, they're smart lockers. So if veterans want to, I mean, if veterans are allowed in there, they could pay some money to put something they have there.
Oh, the camera lady's not for the press. She's with them.
Right.
She's with
Pay to
us.
play press.
Yeah,
All right,
so
let's
not
hear-
the.
Yeah.
Just so you can have your phone and camera and stuff.
But I'm being told to leave. She's being allowed in. See the difference?
For guests.
I'm a guest of a resident that lives here, not a developer laundering the land that causes veteran death.
We're here for coordination.
Excuse me? I know you don't know. I know. Oh, take it down. How you doing, sir?
I'll have to ask you again.
Sir, the police are right there. If they ask me to leave, I'll leave.
I'm still asking you. It's coming from me. It'll come from pretty soon.
Okay, he's coming right here, so I'll just listen.
Let's keep going this way. I'm gonna keep asking you to leave.
I know, I'm just waiting for him to get here. He's coming. Thank you, sir.
I'm a little confused. What's going on?
I just document what's going on here on the land. There's a lot of private developers that launder the land to other private developers, and they charge homeless disabled veterans rent to live here. A lot of veterans get evicted from the buildings. They're homeless disabled veterans, and they're charged rent, and it's all illegal on this land. You're not allowed to have an enhanced use lease. You're also not allowed to have a sublease, and that's exactly what's happening in this building, these buildings. Whether it's the Veteran Collective, Century Housing, US Vets, and this is something that we've been documenting and providing exposure to. So it's nothing to cause contention, but we are just documenting what's going on.
So what are you planning on doing with the camera?
Well, it's live streaming, so we share what's going on and we publish everything.
Okay.
I didn't get you though, I mean.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind. Are we planning on like,
You could look, it's like live on Instagram and stuff. You know, obviously there's a lot of contention because this is very valuable land.
okay.
And so, unfortunately, there's a lot of funny business that goes on here. And I mean, you're more than welcome to check it out. I don't know what your involvement, maybe you live here.
Cops are still
I
outside.
actually work for Century. So
Century Housing? So Century Housing is one of the private developers, Brian DeAndrea. For example, he's one of the people that used to work there, if I'm not mistaken. He'll sign on both parts of the name, subleasee, sublessor. You're not allowed to have an enhanced use lease on this federal land. Whatever Century Housing does outside of this federal deed restricted property, I would have no business or issue with. I don't care at all. But when it's laundering land in our nation's capital of veteran homelessness and suicide, I take great offense to that. When it's stealing our tax dollars, I have an issue with that.
so what do we plan on doing though? That's the main thing.
Oh, I'm just here.
We're doing it.
Oh yeah, I'm just here. I would actually prefer to talk to nobody.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Respect.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. I think the cop stuck outside there. There he goes in.
See what happens
The officer.
Hi, sir. Okay. So, did you tell him what you wanted to tell him? Because the cop just walked by me and didn't tell me to leave. So did you not talk to him? Because I don't want you telling me to leave again. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. Hello, sir.
What is the basis for them telling you to leave? Like, are they giving you a reason?
Sure, act like you.
Never one time. And she's slamming doors all over the
Federal
place.
and deed restricted land is really, really hard to digest.
There, that's the water. That was the water fountain that they were offering.
For who?
Look, she wouldn't let me in. She closes it.
Bro, the woman just shut the door on us.
Sorry, in the beginning it was kind of quiet. Did you ask her? What was the conversation about property at the beginning? Was it with the woman that just passed by or something like that? It was low, so I couldn't hear it the first time. But she was saying something like you were talking about federal property, and she wouldn't answer the question, but she was talking something about property.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, she was saying private property. Was that what it was? Do you want me to go back
Let's hear
a
it. That would
second?
be kind of ridiculous, but let's hear it. What she says.
Let me see. Was it just 2 seconds ago?
No, it was in the very beginning when you first see her inside.
Okay, so we're at 1812, just so I could come back. 1812. It's right here.
Yeah, maybe not that one. Yeah, her. It might be there.
Senate, and I think Tess articulated that to you.
But do you live here?
I think it was just 1
I'm
second.
doing good, just checking it out. Why do you close the door?
Because this is a private residence, Senate, and I think Tess articulated that to you.
Was that
Do
the
you
line?
live here? You said private residence, but do you live here?
Senate, I don't.
Okay, Lainey Capkin.
I am.
Lainey Capkin, what do you do for U.S. Vets?
I don't think you respect the work there the whole time. We see each other at all of the grand opening events.
Oh, all of the ones where they're laundering the land to kill veterans? All the ones where
Private
they're...
residence that you've entered to film.
Oh. Okay.
Private residence.
Wait, listen what I
So you're
say.
asking me not to film, or what are you asking me?
I'm letting you know that it's a private residence.
I ask her, are you telling me not to film? And she says, I'm just letting you know it's a private residence. She doesn't say, don't film because it's a private residence. No one actually ever tells me to stop filming one time. And I actually ask her, am I not supposed to film?
And then what else?
Huh?
What else did she say?
Let's see.
Right there.
Better even than I do.
That I would know
Well,
that
we're on
better.
federal deed restricted land, is that correct? Are you guys?
I'm not here to answer your questions.
Oh, so that's the only question she can't answer.
Thank you.
She can answer anything except, is it federal land?
Yeah.
Okay.
They-
And then, if you don't mind, can we go back to the conversation with Tess? Because I want to see what she says when she's telling you can't go in.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Whose property?
It's private property, you need to leave. You're not a resident here.
But now
Private
there's a lot of
property.
people who just walked
You're not a
inside.
resident.
Private property.
You go leave.
No, I don't. But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are in here that aren't residents,
Doesn't mean it's a
Taspenko. Are you a
crime. That
resident?
doesn't mean it's great. I work here. I support veterans here instead of shoving cameras in people's faces.
Oh, okay, thanks, Taspenko.
You're welcome.
With the Veterans Collective.
Yes, that's me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, honorably discharged veteran. If you'd like to do an expose profile on me.
Check out episode 2.
Oh, here we are.
Hi, ma'am. What is this?
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to hear that. So she says it's private property. The other woman says it's a private residence. We haven't seen any residences yet. Any
Yeah,
housing
no,
units.
no residents.
Yeah. And I think you're covered so far about maybe 15,000 square feet or something.
Close, yeah, probably. Between that room, the big room, and the hallway, and the safety deposit boxes or whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
I mean, what is Luxor One? Did you? I gotta look that up.
Yeah, it's a smart locker. So if somebody wants to stow something somewhere, they just pay the fee,
Oh, so it's kind of like a.
and they're allowed to use the little locker.
deposit box. Oh. Wow. That's where the teller would be. I mean, the property manager.
I think what we're seeing here is what we're seeing in all of the building takeovers, is that they're coming up with bogus, fraudulent excuses of reasons that don't make sense at all to have the first floors of all these buildings vacant, and making sure that disabled and homeless veterans don't live in them, because they want them to be mixed-use retail. That's what's going on. We talked to Thomas Saffron about this a couple of years ago. So it's just like building 402, 404, bunch of offices. Oh, no, that's being used for offices for all the services we don't provide.
Here, let me hit play.
They don't? But, okay. Thank you, I appreciate you. Okay. This is the guy that keeps talking to me. But thanks. You what? You don't want me to? Oh, okay. I'm gonna go in there when the press conference starts. That's what I wanna do, is go in there when the press conference starts.
So then they can't do this because this is a private
I'm
business?
sorry, how did that door just open?
Well,
Private.
There's an officer there, so if he wants to tell me to leave,
Private
I'll leave,
residence,
but
please
I'm not
do head
leaving.
out. Please don't enter this part, it's a private residence.
Please don't.
I'm realizing, you know what? I'm realizing what the whole thing is now. I'm getting it now. They don't want the people to see that there's no residences in here. There's no housing units in here. That's what that's the whole thing. I'm getting it now. That's the whole thing they're freaking out about. They wanted to have a party because this is the first time they've made an even bigger area that has no units of housing in it, and they're really happy with themselves about it, but they don't want anyone else to know. Let's see what else you got here.
The cop is right there. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Thanks, sir. Oh, these are gonna be the speeches. All right, I'll take a seat. That's the best thing. Excuse me, sir. Can I get this? Thank you.
There's the smart channel here.
So now, am I on the second floor? If you look at that railing, do you see what I saw?
I wonder if it goes. I don't know. I mean, that
Do you see
does
that?
look elevated, but I don't know if that's kind of like just a little sub part.
It
Or if
looks
there's
like
a
I'm on the
floor above.
second floor almost.
No, I think. Oh yeah, maybe the first floors are subterranean. What did the screen say? Do you know?
It was like, if I'm not mistaken, it was like waiting. It was like waiting for the plug-in. It was like waiting for the.
Oh,
this-
so no
the-
logo or anything of a company or anything.
Yeah, it was like check something power, like check deluxe. It felt like it was a generic like waiting for input type screen, but
I'm okay, sir.
Right now, we're gonna come up, so I'm not gonna,
I mean,
it's all other.
if I.
So what are they doing here? What's happening?
well, he's basically just saying, there has to be more people to come in terms of law enforcement, and I'm
No,
assuming
but what is the event that you're gonna attend?
Oh, I mean, from what I gathered, at one point when I walked in and they were kind of standing around, I could hear them say something about speeches. And I think they were discussing like who was going to give the speeches and like maybe the order type thing. I mean, whatever was about to happen was essentially about to happen in terms of a presentation. The three black buses that the resident complained about that was blocking all the cars, those filled up, every chair here. It must have been, well, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, 60 chairs in this room,
Okay, so
getting ready
basically,
to watch speeches with the
so
private cameras.
so other than that stuff though, there's nothing was disclosed about what the whole event is about.
Yeah, zero.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Tell me to leave, I would leave, but it seems like it's a lot of people that don't live here that are walking in and out, and then I do see someone with cameras. I'm just here to document First Amendment, right? But if you do tell me to leave, I'm not gonna.
You know what, I'm gonna get clarification on it right now, but you're heading out, so we're putting a 13 and that's it.
Okay.
Honestly, I haven't been told otherwise, don't worry.
I appreciate that, sir.
What do you say?
So he's saying that he hasn't been told otherwise in terms of otherwise to tell me to leave, and he doesn't personally, and between him and the law enforcement that's been there already, doesn't feel it's necessary or appropriate to tell me to leave. So because of the outside chatter of, and there's some video of Tess Banco and some others talking to the officers. Uh, he was required to start calling people that are like the chief, if I'm
Okay.
not, or the captain and people ahead
I
of
just
him
want to
because he
say,
couldn't make the call.
yeah, I just want to say then, just to interject here, I think that's actually pretty impressive because, in my opinion, I think what we're seeing here is that the federal law enforcement, in a totally unexpected situation with a lot of people telling him and the VAPD to arrest you while they're saying it's private property and private land, it seems to me that they have, in at the spur of the moment, been able, in a very complex situation, they've been able to drill it down and realize that no, it's federal land, it's federal property, and and you're a journalist, and there's no reason to be able to do this. And I wonder if they're just surprised too. I wonder if they're just going like, "What the hell is this? We didn't even know this is going on." So either way, I think that's really great that despite all the pressure on them and what they're told the situation is, even though it isn't, that they are able to think that quickly and understand that this is not what they're saying it is. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, I had a lot of respect for the law enforcement that made that tough call, because here you have a lot of people with, unfortunately, a lot of influence, saying get rid of this guy and whatever. I'm alone. I mean, minus the resident, but as terms of someone who's not supposed to be there as a citizen, right?
Right.
It would have probably been a lot easier for him to say get out of here than to not. And so I did have a lot of respect for that call. And he said I'm gonna have to call my superiors because I'm not going to tell him to leave. And if they're going to keep telling me to kick him out, I'm just going to call people ahead of me to let them make the call. So that's where we get. I also did a quick count here. The right side of these chairs, it looks like there's about 25, maybe 27
I was going to say
chairs
those are expensive. Those are expensive rentals through an event coordinator, right? I mean, that's got
in
to be
San Diego.
yeah.
But 27, and then to the left, I think would be maybe, let's say 25 to the left, that's 50. I'm in a row of chairs that's the same, would be another 25. And then, so we're talking actually about 100 foldable chairs, which makes sense for the three big black buses.
Yeah, so let's see here. Those are
I
probably.
appreciate that, sir.
So rental wise, that could be as much as like $4,000 in chairs. I mean, if they're $40 a chair, let's say they're $20 a chair, that's $2,000 just for rentals.
Yeah, well, we paid for that, right?
Yes, I'm sure that we did.
No, he's not. The city's not doing anything wrong with him. He's sitting down, he's quiet, he said, you asked me to leave, I'll leave. And right now, I have to be on the side of of what he's doing, he isn't doing. If he's peaceful.
Tessa invited him in, I have it on tape, she said you can come in. And I'm out here chilling.
That took me.
That's amazing. I mean, it's amazing that they were able to figure that out and process that. just
Yeah,
like
and just
thrown
if
into it.
anyone missed that last clip, it's Tess Banco talking to him and saying and he goes, it's government property. I'm gonna replay it in 1 second, and
Oh,
then
let me hear that. Let me
and
hear
then
that.
she goes, and he goes, it's government property. Let's see if we can
Yeah, I missed
hear
that
that.
one.
I'm out here chilling.
That too. On US government property.
U.S. government
But
property.
this is,
On US government property.
He has to say it twice.
Los Angeles VA soldiers home. It is federal
Wow.
deed restricted land meant to be
Wow.
nothing but a home for homeless and disabled veterans.
As they should know, because they're law enforcement.
Let's see here. So then this guy ends up saying some weird comment.
The Veterans Collective, US Vets, all of these kind of third-party entities, they basically launder the land for $0. They take this whole building for $0, and they take in a ton of tax credits to charge homeless and disabled veterans rent that then go into eviction if the veteran can't afford it. The homeless veteran pays more rent here than the developer pays to launder the.
So
Tenant.
go ahead.
This is a rent increase from 500 to 1121 for a homeless veteran.
Yeah, and the veteran ultimately was served with like a process server on the federal deed restricted land, was handed these documents saying you're going to be evicted, and this happens more times than I could ever even imagine or know of.
Right, and it's happening also at these buildings that have been stolen. They're being laundered, and they're doing. There's these crooked developers are saying that first they were saying that they're putting up all the money because the VA's broke, and that's where they come in. And of course, we found out, right, 2.5 years ago, that not an effing penny of the money is coming from them. It's coming from us. And of course, that's in addition to all the money that all the taxpayers in this country have been spending without interruption for 136 years and counting for the full price and cost of the federal government housing and serving the veterans who are homeless and or disabled in these buildings, as they have until 2017, when this flavor of land grab moved in and said that no, that's what they're doing. And so these rents, these are second rents, right? This is a voucher scam exploiting HUD and exploiting the VA to make sure that there's a way that when we pay again, it can go into their pockets in these buildings that they don't pay a penny to so-called lease. So we already pay all their rents. It's not as much why should they have to pay rent, which that it makes sense to say it that way, right? Because how does a homeless person afford rent? But it's more, I think, more accurate that what's going on here is we've already paid in full. That's why we had 5,000 living here on any given day up through 1972 when it starts going down and declining. This is the second rent. And I didn't see this before. This is crazy for this to be doubling. How long was this person there? What building is this? I mean, were they even there a year?
So if I'm not mistaken, this double was given to them within a month, if that makes sense. Like
Within a month of moving in.
I know. Well, I want to say then. Well, let's see. 7/1/2024. Let me see. But I know they didn't have any ample notice. Like there was no notice of like your rent will be doubling in this time. It was like a huge sticker
Well, I mean,
shock
it's
to the
everything about
veteran.
it's illegal. I mean, you can't do anything like that. It's funny too, right? How they do stuff, right? It's like, well, we're going to say it's federal law when it works for us to say that we can get out of rent control or whatever and all that stuff in this whole illegal sham. But then when it comes to anyone showing up that's a journalist with a camera to take a look at what's going on, who by the way is at least being polite and professional while they're there, then it's like, well, no, this isn't federal law. This is private property, which is an absolute lie. And I know why they're trying to say it. I know what they're getting at, what they're basing that off of, but we're going to blow that apart in a second. But yeah.
I have the document, like, unfortunately, this is a clip of it, but I'm looking at the full document. And the full document on the top very left, it says May 15th, 2024. And then as you see here, so this original document
209 or 207. It's one of those
was sent
buildings.
It is 700 Bonsai or Bonsall Avenue. I'm not sure.
That's the core companies. That's the
Building 205,
oh,
preservation.
205. Sorry, that's Shangri-La. The folks that are already getting arrested by the FBI, right? They've
Yeah.
already taken in their CFO.
Whole building. And that's what we're raising awareness to. And it's supposed to be a whole press conference here, but so far I don't see anybody. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
It was pretty uncomfortable with all the.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. I don't mean.
like you're walking into some kooky secret society.
I mean, I'm apologizing, saying, sorry for.
Because not my purpose of detention. It's the developers that are making all the money, millions of dollars in tax credits. Century Housing, there's a gentleman, Brian DeAndrea. I could show you the document. Yeah, maybe I have the document on my phone. One second. Oh, yeah.
So I'll just pause it here.
This is, I think in psychiatry they call this psychosomatic fugue, right? It's like multiple personality disorder. He's signing this with himself. All right, so
Let's see.
I do. Look at this document. WLA.
by the way, what date is this signed? Is there a date on this?
We are on federal deed restricted.
I'm asking because they gave up everything they have to these LPs for each of these illegal subleases. So I'm wondering if he's signing these on the date after he says that he's left it, because they gave them all the way to the banks, right? They gave they think that they've given away every single building to the banks, which then are the fronts for all of the global investors and asset management funds hiding behind them. So I don't know what this is, but if it's like building 404 or 402, for example, Wells Fargo.
I just sent him a text.
It's U.S. Bank if it's a different one. I can't, it depends on the building. All right, but either way, so let's see, the borrower and the subordinate lender. LLC.
Both California
Look at
limited
this.
liability.
Here's something else that's ridiculous. Notice here it says, the borrower is Century West LA VA 1 Limited Partnership by the partner in that, which is West LA VA 1 LLC. And then under that by its Century Affordable Development Incorporated. Then signs Brian DeAndrea. Now it goes down to the subordinate lender section. I've never seen those two words together. And it says West LA Veterans Collective. Whoop. Did we lose you?
Yeah. Am I back?
So, and then it says West LA Veterans Collective by Century Housing Corporation, right? Which obviously is reflexive of Century Affordable Development. One of them is the parent of the other, or they're just two separate with the same exact management. And by, again, the same guy, Brian DeAndrea. So the subordinate lender is supposedly West LA Veterans Collective, which, where's the Century Housing? This is ridiculous. This is utterly ridiculous. I mean, it's like he's masturbating or something, with contracts. He's just playing with himself, and the companies are playing with themselves. It's like a big circle jerk of white collar crooks. Anyway,
I've shown this to a lot of people, like business people. I mean, nobody I've showed this to can make sense of it. I don't think anyone I've ever.
Audio dropout. Of course, it would happen right now.
Companies under the company.
You there?
Yeah, I'm getting. That's
I just lowered
interesting.
my resolution to get better bandwidth. All right, sorry to dwell on this. It just it's insane looking at this. But
By the way, a lot of comments here on Instagram as we stream live platforms. Saying how I'm so unclear how they can do this, how they do this illegally. I mean,
yeah, well, you might as well get everybody in the world. It doesn't matter who you get. It will never be clear to anybody because it is total nonsense. It's just a way of creating a lot of confusion to obscure the fact it's a big crime, and one of the biggest in history. But and I think we'll get into that. But let's see what else happens here.
To launder the land and charge homeless disabled veterans rent. And you see here, Brian DeAndre, his name is in both places. What document in the world have you ever seen? What document in the world? So you want to look at the document? Have you ever seen someone execute both parts of the document? Unbelievable. But that's where we are. That is where we are. And that, my friends, is why Los Angeles remains the nation's capital of veteran homelessness and suicide. Because you have private developers laundering this land to get rich. That's what we have here. And if you saw the last live, I mean, they've done everything. They tried to keep me out of this room. And now everyone's outside and I'm the only one in the room except for and the two gentlemen behind me. So, if you just show you the, look at the setup. Look at the setup. It's pretty good, huh? We got cameras facing me, we got cameras facing that way. You know how these people are. So, if you're just tuning in, we are on federal deed restricted land. Federal.
I'm gonna fast forward real quick to
Yeah, let's just see whatever the outcome of this is.
this part.
Well, it looks like it's gonna get going.
So I thought it was about to get started. I saw some guys walking
We're
in.
about to get cooking.
I thought this is the start. Now watch this.
Alright, can you guys help me out? What seat should I sit in? It's an open house. What seat should I sit in? Maybe the back corner, no? Would the back corner be the best seat? I think, and then I don't have people behind me. Would the back corner be the best seat in the house or what? I'll let y'all tell me. What seat?
So I'm about to sit in the back to, document the whole thing.
What seat would be the best one? I think maybe that back corner.
And then I start noticing they're packing stuff up.
Alright, I legitimate, I mean... Let's see if they're wrapping it up. This is-
I start seeing them like putting things away.
I think it's a wrap. Looks like he's putting stuff away. Are you guys putting everything away or? They did?
They canceled the
Why
event.
did they cancel it?
He said probably because of the camera. I'm assuming.
Yours are the people they hired.
Alright. Clean it up. Alright, thank you, sir. Have a good day. Sorry about that. Okay, that's canceled, huh? That's a good thing. Event canceled? I think they canceled the whole event. Is the event canceled?
I'm not sure.
Oh, shucks. Oh, this guy, you got up. Yeah?
She had to tell him to like get away from me. It's like he was stuck.
Hold on. Okay, that's right.
What happened with the event?
No
Was
one,
it canceled or?
no one talking to me.
Looks like the police have a lot of folks ready
Please
to
don't
escort them.
donate or contribute
Those
to
vehicles.
this private development that
Show 'em their
launders the
way
land
out.
that results in veteran death.
Yeah, more
Los Angeles, the nation's capital
law
of
enforcement
veteran
came for
suicide
sure.
and homelessness,
Here, let's
while
see.
Century Housing
Let's go
subleases and uses
to
illegal
right here. Whoops. Uh-oh.
Steve Peck. Yes, sir. Who did? Oh, that's rude.
Hi guys, my name is Robert Canis. I'm a combat veteran, 18 months in Iraq. Welcome to my home. What's your name?
Neil.
Neil.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Kneel
Welcome to
down
the
and
VA.
Yeah, kneel down and lick my balls.
Neil, this is the VA and I'm a veteran, sir. What did you?
Ryan, you're on mute.
Yep. 1 second. I'm just talking to someone.
Oh, okay. Okay, no worries. Let me just keep playing.
Did you just say to me?
Okay, we'll go.
Did you just? Why would you say that to a veteran?
Why are you filming me?
That's rude.
Hi guys, my name is Robert Canis. I'm a combat veteran, 18 months in Iraq. Welcome to my home. What's your name?
Neil.
Neil.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Kneel
Welcome
down
to the
and
VA.
Yeah, kneel down and lick my balls.
Outrageous. By the way, I sent an email to like 50, 60, 50 oversight VA staff, city officials, oversight advocates. I'll go back to his name. People are asking what his name is here. Andrew Dervin, the Valencia Pipe Company.
Yeah, and this is actually
My
one
name's
that
You
I
have
am
a
aware
document?
about because I got
Oh,
this.
okay.
I got this video from Rob Canis,
Yep.
and yeah, I know about this one. I've seen this before. So and now this is the guy. So out of everybody you saw, right? This is the only person that disclosed his name. But of course, we found out it's not kneel down, lick my balls, right?
Yeah, it's. I mean, maybe that's his nickname, kneel down and lick my balls. But
Yeah.
Andrew Dervin seems to be more the government name when he's working with the Valencia Pipe Company.
Right. Kneel down, lick my
But
balls.
maybe
Pipe company. All right.
Mr.
So
Balls. I don't know.
let's see here. I got something on him.
Okay, you could share your screen, please.
Yeah. Let me just find it here. It's not that one.
I mean, the email. I mean, the email I sent, by the way, is like, and is like who contracted with this person, and how vulnerable and dangerous is it to make this kind of comment to a resident, that's formerly homeless and being rehabilitated at their soldiers' home, and to make this egregious comment.
Yeah. Well, it gets even worse. Let's see. What's his first name again? Andrew?
Yeah, Andy Dervin, or dang, I realized I had a spelling error. It's Dervin. I wrote Devin in the email.
Yeah, here it is. Okay.
We're concerned by information indicating that Mr. Dervin may have been present on the Soldiers' Home through an invitation, affiliation, or association with the Veterans Collective.
Yeah. Well, this gets insane here. I'm just I
No
should be
problem.
prepared with this, but
Valencia Pipe Company publicly advertises that it provides, quote, innovative plumbing and irrigation solutions across multiple industries. If Mr. Dervin was present in any professional, vendor, or contract capacity, it raises serious questions regarding vetting, oversight, and accountability for individuals granted access to a vulnerable veteran population. Was VA staff aware of this invitation? If so, who? As an advocate for Mr. Robert Canis, Executive Director of AFTP Foundation, as a journalist with MrCheckpoint, I respectfully request the following: immediate written confirmation of receipt of this correspondence, clarification as to whether Mr. Andy Dervin or Valencia Pipe Company currently holds or has held any contractual, subcontractual, or vendor relation, guidance on how a formal complaint or grievance can be filed on behalf of Mr. Canis, confirmation whether an internal investigation has been initiated, and if not, whether one will be opened promptly, and written assurance that Mr. Canis and other residents are protected from retaliation, and that appropriate safeguards are in place to ensure the safety and dignity of all veterans at the Soldiers' Home, including a written apology to Mr. Canis from Mr. Dervin and those responsible for Mr. Dervin being there.
yeah.
We're waiting for the directors Sally Hammett, Kevin Wright. This was sent to VHA GLA Public Affairs, VA Public Affairs, Robert Merchant, Stephen Braverman, Deborah Carter, Lori Moore, Alan Trin, Eugene Skinner, James Harris, John Kuhn, Andrew Strain, and the list goes on. Brett Sims.
And what'd you hear back from all those people?
Mostly bounced emails that they retired, bounced emails they're no longer working there, bounced emails that they're out of the office.
Off. That's the problem. That's
Or no reply.
DC is understanding that more than before. Sorry, I'm pulling something up here. That's got to go to us. And one more here. Okay. This is pretty crazy about Kneel Down.
Mr. Kneel Down and Lick My Balls?
Yeah.
Or Mr. Andrew Durbin?
One and the same, right? It's just, it depends what party he's at. Okay.
Oh, it's his nickname, someone said. That's a good point.
All right, email. Okay, I have this here now. I'm just loading it up. Okay, and now I'm going to do a share. Shut that. And I already got that.
Let me just go back and replay it real quick.
Oh, that's rude.
Bye, guys. My name is Robert Kennison. I'm a combat veteran, 18 months in Iraq. Welcome to my home. What's your name?
Neil.
Neil.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Kneel
Welcome to the
down
VA.
and yeah, kneel down and lick my balls.
Neil.
All right.
This is the VA, and I'm a veteran, sir. What did you just say?
Let's talk about Kneel Down and Lick My... Oh, and by the way...
Why would you say that to a veteran?
What?
18
Go
months in
ahead.
Iraq. Welcome to my home. What's your name?
Neil.
Me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Home Depot was in there, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And they turned their badges over, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had it on and I saw it, and then when I later saw him, it was like not there.
Okay. Watch this. Let's see here. Screen share.
Yep. Let me.
And window. That one. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
There we go. All right. Kneel Down and Lick My Balls, as you said, as a company called Valencia Pipe Company. And Valencia Pipe Company, this is interesting. I never really knew that Home Depot was doing this sort of thing. Valencia Pipe Company, I guess, has some kind of deal with partnership with Home Depot, where I'm just going to guess how it works at this point because I haven't read through it all. But it looks like there's something going on where Home Depot partners up with contractors and they get some kind of benefit out of it in exchange for buying all the materials or whatever at Home Depot, or not competitively pricing them, let's say, not bidding the materials or, out or whatever. That's my guess of what it means. It's a guess at this point. But what's not a guess is that Valencia Pipe and Home Depot have a pretty extensive history of installing together on projects, basically components that are illegal to install and are hazardous to people's health and cause cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there are multiple violations for this. And you can see here that this is from the California Department of Justice. This is one of many violations. And they even include here about how it's violating the Drinking Water Toxicity Enforcement Act and all this stuff. It says here the toxins are lead and lead compound. It says, what it is. They're gas line fittings in this case. This goes on and on. And then, this is a letter from the law firm that I guess that maybe there are all these different, not only is it the California Department of Justice, but all of these different environmental health advocacies that are pretty well established and funded in California here. You can see they address this to Valencia Pipe, Andrew Durbin, and Home Depot, who's going through their lawyers. And they're also saying that they're filing complaints and going to sue them. And that's in 2020. Now, this is in 2015. So I want us to understand, too, this is not a one-off. This is a string over many years of these problems. And this is only one of many of these violations from the California Department of Justice. And then here, we have here something, this is a 990 tax return I found for a nonprofit charity called the Harold Pump Foundation. You can see that the summary of what this nonprofit does is to create public awareness of the need for cancer research by conducting a golf tournament, dinner, and educating attendees of the need for cancer research. And if we go down here, you see Andrew Durbin is the director right there, right? So
wow.
He's getting busted left and right for, 10 years or something like that, or 15 years, for installing what causes cancer. And I guess maybe if he's there, maybe he just finished doing that over here for disabled veterans in the building that doesn't appear to be housing any, or at least on the first floor. I can understand why Home Depot turned their badge away, right? They know more than we know, or at the time you get there. We're a little slower because we're not the ones committing frauds. But there you go. They're being violated left and right for things that the state of California Department of Justice and the legislature finds causing cancer, and then they're going and asking for money to have a golf event, all for saving cancer and cancer research and all that stuff. And I found some other violations here too in San Diego. Other kinds of lawsuits and stuff going on. I haven't looked at those, but anyway, that's about kneel down and suck my balls. That's
Lick.
lick my balls. Sorry, lick my balls.
Yeah.
So that's that. Pretty fucked up.
Well, that's essentially the end. I mean, they all get back on their buses, and
All right. So then, if you don't mind, I want to
please
go
do.
over something. Okay. All right. So overall, I think the
Wait, are you going to share your screen?
Yeah, I am in a second. But
Okay.
I just want to say, overall, right? The most interesting, evident thing here, in my opinion, is you've gone through this whole thing. Nobody is going to tell you, other than names you already know because you've seen them before, which is like Tess, right? Nobody's going to tell you their name. Nobody's going to tell you their title. Nobody's going to tell you their employer. Nobody's going to tell you why they're there. Nobody's going to tell you what they're doing there. Nobody's going to tell you what the event is. And they're also going to lie about what the building is. Because you've gone through, let's share this. Window. No, that's the live one. Where did I put this? Oh, I have to put this up. All right, because you've gone through this whole building here. And let me go grab the site thing here. Okay, is my screen shared?
It's not. It did. Not yet. You have to ask it.
Yeah, I'll do it again. Let's see here.
Do you know how you take a screenshot on a PC? Sorry.
Print screen.
Print screen. Okay.
Okay, I did it again, but it's not showing.
I'm gonna stop sharing mine. Let's see. So we want to try one more time.
Yeah.
It should let you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it one more time.
Okay, add to the scene. If it didn't work, try one more time. I might have clicked right off of it instead
Okay,
of
I'll do it one more time.
accidentally. Someone said, I'll put the comment on the thing. Weird secret club that uses tax dollars to meet. Here we go. Let me add to the scene.
Okay. So, again here, what seems apparent is that you have walked through this entire building, Building 157. Federal building built by the federal government, just like the federal government has built every building there since up until 2022, when LANDGRAB opened up the remodel of Building 207 for approximately $980,000 per unit. Walk through here, you're not seeing any residences on the first floor, at least. We're wondering about the second floor, if it's subterranean, and nor, of course, in the one-story addition. And everybody you see, no one's going to tell you their name, what they're doing, who they are, what their title is, why they're there, what the event is, anything. I know that people I talked to who work for the VA GLHS didn't know what was going on. We obviously know that residents didn't know what any of this was about, even though it's supposedly for them, because they called you. You didn't know what it was about. I don't think the VAPD knew what this was about. I think they processed it pretty accurately, pretty fast, but I don't think they knew ahead of time. So what I think is going on that's really evident here is that nobody's telling you who they are or anything, and they're just constantly, even if it's illegal to tell you, demanding and obstructing you and pushing you to not have a camera on and to leave, right, is because they're ashamed and they don't want to be seen. They know that what they're doing is not right. If you were proud of what you're doing, if you even thought what you're doing is okay, then I don't think you would be necessarily really minding much if a journalist came by on one party consent federal land. And nobody here feels good enough about what they're doing and who they are and who they're working for and what their title is. Nobody feels good enough to even say any of that, to identify any of that, to disclose any of that, right? Now, mind us, right? So this is Century and U.S. vets and these folks. These are the same exact people, right, that are buying pay-to-play press all over the local news and newspapers and stuff like that, commanding that we applaud them for how great they are and all the wonderful things they're doing for veterans and how they're saving the day from the poor little old broke VA that has a $400 billion a year budget and actually has been building, or the federal government has been building everything here for 134 years before, 33 years before they just started stepping in and remodeling a building. So this is also this is an old story, right? Because if we look here, let me just show you what this is. This, as we can see, and I have many of these maps over the years. You can see right here, this is the United States Geological Service. I can't even remember what the acronym is right now. I'm so pissed off. But this is the Federal Inspection and Editing approved copy of this map, U.S. Geological Survey, excuse me. And you can see here too, right? LA County Board of Supervisors has approved this map. You can see down here that the City of Los Angeles, the U.S. Coast Guard, and the Geodetic Survey have approved this map. This is an official federally commissioned map that also has been mutually agreed between the County of Los Angeles and the City of Los Angeles and the U.S. Coast Guard. And like many maps, right here's the Soldiers Home. And the Soldiers Home, back here on this date, which is I think 1934 or something like that, you can see here the boundary of the Soldiers Home is like this, right? I'm going to follow the line here. It looks nothing like the Laiva map that we're shown today, right? And you can see also, as the deeds show on the congressional record, there's the reservoir of all the water. It's the Soldiers Home, right? Today they're telling the disabled, informally homeless veterans, if we can't keep you out of this building we're stealing, then the only water you get will be from this little water fountain here. DWP took this over. They put a little hydro station, electrical energy generating station here that taps out that reservoir and then sells the water. And in fact, in the 1990s, the VA, GLHS had to, in a California court, sue the DWP or whatever utility it was for the water because they were charging the VA, I think, like 3 times more than the rest of the customers for the stolen water that is theirs to begin with. And of course, the California state judge, who was obviously corrupt, said, "Yeah, thanks, no, you lose." Right? And let's take a look at what's missing here. Right? Over time, you've got all these chunks of the Soldiers Home, right, that are stolen. Like sorry, I just have to catch my bearing here of where I'm at. You got this chunk right here, right? Look at all that right there. They've cut all that off. Then as recent as the Jose Huizar Education Master Plan for Brentwood School, these little chunks here were cut off, pretended now that they were always with the city or the county or whatever. You've got UCLA for a while was saying a chunk of this was Los Angeles City, but that's been corrected very recently, thanks to the federal government. And then, you've got all these parks now and baseball diamonds, all this stuff. It's all gone. The triangle parcel, which is supposed to be for female veterans and their families, which Jessica Miles was denied of, right? As we can see from your coverage earlier, all of this has been stolen. And in the research, I noticed historically, it's always stolen under the facade of for veterans, right? Or something noble, right? This big chunk over here, they changed the excuse of what the good excuse is for it being stolen sometimes. Like this one went through a couple of excuses over time, these 200 acres right here and the reservoir. I mean, let's take a look at, I'll show you something here. Let's take a look at, I'm going to share a different thing now. Yeah, I just put up a different thing that needs to be shared. It should be up there now. Can you see it? Okay, cool. So let's look at where this is today, right? Let's look at a satellite image. So what that whole chunk is now, whatever they said it was to steal it, it's a gated enclave of mega mansions. That's what it is today, right? Just like if we, go down here, we have all the Brentwood schools shit. The golf course, maybe that's where they do the charity for cancer golf thing, And then as we go down here, you've got baseball diamonds, Salvation Army staff taking the triangle parcel there, tennis courts, a soccer field, another park with more tennis courts. Baseball is a popular, recreational sports are very popular, right? Because you can do like a really low footprint development just to hold the land and steal it until, you figure out what you really want to develop later. You've got, and then you have more baseball diamonds here, right? You've got golf here. You got another baseball diamond there. You've got the parks here, right? You've got the football field here. The land grab can never have enough of baseball for sure, and parks, and tennis courts. And of course, as we see with George, who's still sitting in a box right now, you know, this is what's happening, right? When they tell you that they've added, 140 or whatever, housed 140 veterans or whatever, they're in these boxes, right? Without a toilet and without a sink, right next to this building 220, right? Which is a housing building that was built and was operating as a housing building for homeless veterans, I believe female veterans, which has like two people from UCLA sitting on the third floor and it's pretty much vacant otherwise, despite when anybody tries to BS. So, all of this land, right? We have a history here over like 100 years of saying, hey, everybody, this is exactly how this land gets stolen. And of course, the more land that is stolen, the more this becomes, as it remains, the national capital of veteran homelessness. This is the exact reason why. If this was running like it has been for so many years, right? Like 1888 to 1972, even though there was some stuff going on with UCLA, decades prior, you would be hard pressed to find a homeless veteran in Los Angeles County. It wouldn't be easy. It was like it would feel as if there wasn't any, right? This is why we, by a wide margin, landslide margin, surpass any other state in terms of how many homeless veterans are in California, but also in Los Angeles County, more than most states, right? And, we hear all the lies, right? We hear all the lies from the LANDGRAB. Well, that's because they send them over here, right? It's like, even if they were coming here, it's a national soldiers home. So what, right? We're paying for it. Anyhow, so what I'd like to go to now is the subject of private property, since they were saying that. So let me get back to my old thing here.
Someone's in the comments, by the way, who said that they're a HUD-VASH employee. They gave their email, which was at va.gov. I haven't confirmed who it is. They're saying some pretty vulgar comments, but one is, I won't read the vulgar ones, but it's housing is being built on it as we speak.
That's
and
correct.
That, we're just being negative.
There are hundreds of units of housing. You know what? Let's step into that right away, actually. I'll forego what I was going to do, and let's just go ahead and explain that. That's important. So let me figure out where I'm supposed to be. I have to go to sorry, just bear with me because I have to pull something else up now because of that. Oh, yeah, it should be here. No problem.
Someone seems to be taking a lot of this personal. And
it should be
they're
taken
an employee. I don't think they're a homeless veteran, but I'm not
well, they also
quite
probably
sure.
think that they also probably are maybe misperceiving that this is against the federal government, which absolutely it's not. There's a lot that is, but in fact, this is pro for that. All right, so there we go. There's that. If you can share that.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Here it comes.
All right. So the story goes that that maybe this HUD-VASH employee has been hearing, for starters. Whoops. Is that the story starts with an earthquake and these vacant, underutilized buildings. And the reason it starts that way is because the fraud needs to have something called a vacant, underutilized building to then fabricate that it has a reason to go through HUD-VASH's programs in addition to or instead of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And of course, when you go through HUD, then you can create the additional layer, double charging the taxpayers, to start creating a HUD-VASH voucher program at the National Soldiers Home, where a HUD-VASH program had been illegal up until several years ago, because why would you pay twice for the same thing? And of course, every voucher you would use to provide to double charge the taxpayers for a veteran to live where it's already paid for them to live in the homes that are already being built, right? Then that's also a voucher, right, that does not house a homeless person out on the street, right? Because now suddenly you're taking a voucher plus the budget from the Soldiers Home just to house the veteran that could already be housed there, that we already pay for. So now you're creating homelessness, right? For every voucher that goes to every voucher that goes to a veteran at the Soldiers Home they already have, right? is a voucher that's leaving one more person homeless. It's a 1-for-1. And but the story actually doesn't start there. That's a lie. Let's look here. You see, this is from the federal contracting offices, and they had put out an RFP because they needed a contractor in I think it was in June of 2015. Procter and Gamble chairman, come U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs secretary, definitely part of the land grab. Robert McDonald, by the way, lied about his service to a homeless veteran. The homeless veteran busted him. He had to apologize. He said he was in special forces. He never was. He just lied to him. That was on the news back then. Anyway, they suddenly need somebody to work on site at the National Soldiers Home to find housing for 850 veterans that haven't really been part of the HUD-VASH program before. And they're going to need to find housing for these people somewhere other than there, right? And you can see here that they're talking about warm handoffs and connecting them to HUD. And we definitely know today in 2026, absolutely know that these people were not provided this to be housed at the Soldiers Home, because in 2015, the HUD-VASH program, in June of 2015, the HUD-VASH program was still illegal. It hadn't been fraudulently amended to allow this to happen yet by a couple months, right? There was no HUD-VASH program at the Soldiers Home. These people are being evicted. They're being displaced. That is the first chapter of the EUL fraud that causes homelessness, right? That is why we had at this time, approximately 1,100 or 1,200 veterans living there who are disabled and are formerly homeless. And then, in 2019, when I got involved with advocacy, there was about 100, right? Now we're back up to about 1,100. Unfortunately, though, about 150 of them are not really housed. They're suffering in boxes and dying in boxes, maybe 50 so far in a couple of years, in these little boxes, without toilets and sinks, in their wheelchairs. Sometimes they have their feeding tubes while they're living in there too, right? And what's interesting here too is, and this is only one of the contractors, right? And there's the award notice, right? You can see it went through, and look who this is awarded to for $600,000 to create a bunch of homelessness. Or, by the way, think about this one: send them to U.S. vets in Inglewood, right? So this is awarded to Del Richardson and Associates Incorporated. I don't know if that name sounds familiar to anybody here, but that's Kern Price's wife's company. And in all these charges here, in the criminal charge for public corruption by the people of the state of California, we see that the way that this whole thing is being alleged and works, all the way from through the first 10 counts, is it's basically alleged, partially in evidence, based on all these financial documents and the pictures of the checks. Is that Thomas Safran and Associates was paying bribes to Current Price to vote on his projects, to push them through, to get all the city and county and state bonds, which is us taxpayers backing those. That's our subsidies and funds, to vote for the millions and millions of dollars of these overpriced jobs that they're doing. And right here in this complaint is Building 207 at the Soldiers Home. And the way that it works in terms of what the FBI, the DOJ of the United States federal government, I shouldn't say that, of the county so far, or the state of California, is that the checks go to Del Richardson and Associates, his wife's company, so they can launder the bribe through, and it doesn't look like it's going directly to Current. That is almost entirely what this case is about. So now let's think about this. Building 207 is mentioned here in one of these charges. So what happens is, the checks are paid by Thomas Safran Associates, as you see right on the checks. And they go to Del Richardson Associates. And then right after, they line them up in the California State Department of Justice lines up the timing of the payments and everything. A check goes in to Del Richardson Associates, and all of a sudden there's a vote held on, should Safran get 30 million or whatever in city HHH money. And yeah, absolutely. Curran thinks that's a great idea, right? And he votes on it. Now, remember, when this is happening is shortly after Del Richardson and Associates evicts everybody out of Building 207 on a contract that POS former VA Sec Robert McDonald issued them. And of course, Building 207 is the building that's taken over and stolen by Safran and Associates and Thomas Safran without even a lease. They didn't even have any contract with the VA to do a fucking thing, until a couple years later, right? And so that's how it works, right? You have 110 formerly homeless and disabled veterans living in Building 207, run by Salvation Army in conjunction with the federal government. Then you have a giant fraud, as would happen with tons of these other buildings. And you have a company, in this case for 207, like Del Richardson and Associates, come in and evict everybody out, right? And then you take that Building 207 and you put a fence around it, and you say that you pissed on it, so now it's going to be yours, and you're going to do a remodel job on it, and it's going to be private, whatever. And then you let it sit there from 2017 to 2021, maybe the beginning of 21. And when you have it sit there, you then say, okay, well, it sat here long enough, so now this qualifies to be a HUD project, a HUD-VASH project, underutilized, land and buildings, right? So you cause all that other homelessness of years by holding that building and keeping it away, keeping that livable operating building away from service. So that's all the other homeless veterans that could have lived there now. And let me remind us, right, when we were providing and procuring the tents there on the sidewalk on San Vicente, right, those veterans dying in front of our eyes, in front of Robert Reynolds' eyes, in front of my eyes, in front of multiple people's eyes, those ones dying could have been housed there too, right? And then once it's ripe, right, once the fraud is ripe, you then go around shopping. In this case, Thomas Safran Associates goes around shopping and gets, like $50 million or something for a remodel, 30 to 50 million bucks. It works out to where the 59 units, because there's one manager's unit, the 59 units, the per unit remodel cost, mostly almost all one bedroom or studios, is like $980 something thousand to remodel them, because it's an inflated budget, right? There's fraud there too. And then it's done on something called an enhanced use lease. But the problem is every single solitary enhanced use lease in existence at the National Soldiers Home is entirely illegal, right? And I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but I'll guarantee you it is, okay? And it's not going to be me speaking, it's going to be the law. So I think what the person who commented should know, and I'm not incensed by their comment, because I didn't know shit about this either. I was in a much, much more ignorant position on this, and it took me a lot to start figuring this out and learning about it. We've never been told the first chapter of this story, which is getting the veterans out, right? And just like we also have to get up to speed on what the parallel story is about this too, the true story, which is if you want to steal land and buildings and property, you have to get rid of everything that's on it, the land and in the buildings, right? We understand the part about the veterans and getting the fraud has to kick the veterans out, but we need to get up to speed on the VA and the federal government have to be kicked out too. And that's why you have all this propaganda and pay-to-play media, where even if they're talking about all this stuff that the land grab is doing, where the VA isn't even anywhere to be found in terms of cooperating, whatever the thing is, it's all pinned on the federal government and the VA, and it says absolutely nothing about the folks who are really involved, the third parties, right? So that's the first chapter, right? That we need to come up to speed with really quick here, is the mass eviction of at least 850 veterans. And keep in mind too that not all of them were kicked right into homelessness, right? I do understand and know that many of them were sent to U.S. vets. In other words, Thomas Safran's partner and the second of three partners in the West LA Veterans Collective, right? So they're double dipping there too. They're making money off the eviction because they get the per diem and all that grant stuff that goes right into U.S. vets, because they're just taking one housed, formerly homeless person and providing them a lower quality standard of housing at the U.S. Vets Inglewood, just so U.S. Vets can capture that money that's also overcharging the taxpayers. And then, of course, they're getting all the money on the steal in their partnership with Safran and Century Housing in doing all of this land fraud, right? So it's very incestuous. But I'm going to go back to something here now, different. I want to talk about private property now. Where's this? Oh, sorry. Oh, I have to share this anyway to do it. All right, I'm going to switch my share.
You could close out and then restart if you want to like change windows or whatever, however you feel. Yeah.
Okay, did that work?
Yep.
So yeah, you remember that enclave of mansions that we're looking at, that gated enclave of mansions that, you know, is a 200-acre chunk of Soldier's Home, you know, that was stolen here. You know, here's what one of these homes looked like. This is Joel Silver, the producer director's home on this stolen land here that he built. You know, no veterans in there. I mean, I see the mural here of Mao Zedong, but there's no veterans here. Just opulent wealth. I think it's on the market right now for $30-something million. That's what those homes look like, right? And you know, in all fairness, most of these people have no idea, right? Because they're in the dark about it too. All right, so now let me go to what I want to start off with here about private property.
And by the way, we got several people in the comments that are also homeless veterans all over the nation, it appears, that have been tuning in as well.
That's good. Bear, I'm sorry about the delay here. There's so much stuff I want to find. There we go. All right, so we know what this is, right? And bear with me, because this is not cheesy, as some people might find it. So I'm just showing this to understand what we're going to be looking at here. This is the Constitution of the United States of America, okay? It's called the highest law of the land, quote unquote, right? There's no law in the United States that supersedes this one at all. You can amend it. The Supreme Court cannot amend it, but it can be amended otherwise. And what I'm going to read from there is Article 4, Section 3. Oops, hold on. The Congress shall have the power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory and the property belonging to the United States, and nothing in the Constitution can be construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States. Okay. That means that if Congress, right, under the Constitution, Congress has a constitutional power to acquire and dispose and operate land on behalf of the United States of America as federal property. The series of deeds, there is no such thing as a 388-acre deed, doesn't exist. It is impossible for anyone to ever show you one. there are a series of deeds of varying amounts. Some are 300, two of them are 300, one's 35 acres. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Different amounts. All of those deeds have one term, one condition, and that is that the land is permanently maintained by the United States federal government as only permanently a home for disabled and homeless veterans, right? And so Congress, on the congressional record, exercised their constitutional power to acquire the Soldiers' Home on behalf of the United States of America, which they did. That's on record. And we have the deeds too, right? Now, remember, when that was done, it was done permanently. Congress used the constitutional power to acquire the lands permanently for a permanent purpose, which means you can't go back and then dispose of it because you're prejudicing what you did to acquire the land in the first place on behalf of the United States. So the legal position of the deeds and in federal law of the Soldiers' Home are as ironclad and strong as those for the country. If you say that the Soldiers' Home, if you were trying to argue that the Soldiers' Home is not, it wasn't brought in by those powers and it can't permanently be something, that's the equivalent of saying, so is the whole country, which is bullshit, right? Then let's take a look at something else. I'm going to take a look at another constitutional power exercised by Congress to acquire some other land in 1850 called the state of California. And in the act of where that constitutional power was exercised back then in 1850, acquiring the land of California in the United States, there's a term that I don't believe is in any other state's act when they were acquired. And then in Section 3, it says, and be it further enacted that the said state of California is admitted into the Union upon the express condition that the people of said state, through their legislature or otherwise, shall never interfere with the primary disposal of the public lands within its limits, and shall pass no law and do not act whereby the title of the United States and right to dispose of the same shall be impaired or questioned. And that they shall never lay any tax or assessment of any description whatsoever upon the public domain of the United States. And in no case shall non-resident proprietors who are citizens of the United States be taxed higher than residents. In other words, veterans from other states come in the National Soldiers' Home, right? Well, again, dispose as well as the title to the land of the United States, right? The state of California has never had any standing whatsoever to put a foot on or a hand in to the land of the Soldiers' Home. But I think we know what's happening instead right now with every single one of these bullshit UL fraudulently laundered buildings. Now, somebody might say, oh, come on, man. Well, that's 1850. So, if something's really old, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Just because, right? Well, there actually was a lot of money recently spent and a lot of attorneys and a lot of people who really tried to push that kind of in a way. There's a case called Utah versus the United States of America. And it wasn't really Utah that was doing it. And the lawsuit, which was entered in the state of Utah a couple of years ago, was saying that basically the federal government doesn't really have any rights to any federal land, and that basically states can just take it and do what they want, sell it. Now, let me. I know it's hard to believe, so let's go through this. This went up to they filed it with the Supreme Court. The reason they did this in Utah, right? We're going to find out is because most of the interests in this are not in Utah. And we know that because if you look at the research in this case, all these organizations everywhere up in arms all over Utah going, what the hell is this? We knew nothing about this. What is this? This is they quote unquote across the board, it's a land grab, they said, right? It's coming from other places like California, right? A lot of this, what's happening here. But they do it in Utah, just like Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom went to Oregon to try to do something under the radar so homeless advocates wouldn't notice here. With this case, they do it in Utah. And they run it through Utah, through the appellate system and everything, and they finally get it to where they can launch a Supreme Court petition. And the petition is, they're saying the federal government has no power to indefinitely retain ownership of unappropriated public lands within the state of Utah. Now remember, it says the state of Utah here, but it's the Supreme Court. And whatever happens here sets the precedent for every state. Well, I mean, does this ring a bell? The federal government has no power to indefinitely retain ownership. National Soldiers Home, right? I mean, that really sums it up in a big way right there, right? That's definitely a target here. The framers granted the federal government only limited authority to hold land. In other words, I'm living in an imaginary world and I'm pretending that the Constitution, Article 4, Section 3 doesn't exist, and I'm hoping nobody knows how to read. That's about the most of what that's saying. Founding area practice confirms that the federal government has only limited authority to hold land. I mean, what, in like a play of like the founding area? What is the founding area practice, right? That's like saying only the veterans who are homeless in the UCLA defined service district 5 or whatever of LA, you know. Basic principles of federalism reinforce the conclusion that the federal government cannot retain unappropriated land within a state. Just more like, let me pull it out of my ass BS, right? So it says the federal government has no constitutional authority to retain in perpetuity unappropriated lands to a state, within a state, right? Over the state's objection, without reserving them, right? Again, this sounds exactly like the National Soldiers Home. It's not only about it, but let me tell you, it is about it. It is about it to some extent. Public lands are currently in federal hands unless the federal government determines that disposal will serve the national interest, right? They want the Supreme Court to declare that the United States official policy of indefinitely retaining unappropriated public lands to the extent it implements that policy are unconstitutional. This is the biggest land grab in the country's history before the Supreme Court. So what does the Supreme Court do 2 weeks ago? They said this shit is so stupid, we're going to throw it in the trash because it's not even worth wasting the time to hear. So for anybody that's out there questioning, like all this land grab out there would be, right? Oh, that's an old thing. That the thing in the California Act and the thing in the deeds, you know, that's just old shit. That doesn't matter. Well, not to the Supreme Court. Not to people that have a real say about it. Despite you, land grab, that is nothing. Has no standing to be there. It has nothing to say about it. It's thrown in the trash. Motion for leave to file a bill of complaint denied. Okay. And who's backing this suit? Well, this is one of the biggest backers of that lawsuit, the Pacific Legal Foundation, right there in Sacramento, right? The state's Capitol Hill, right? That's where they are. Now, another one that we've heard, right, is that, oh, well, when the VA was created, right, LandGrab says, when the VA was created, that got rid of the National Soldiers Home. And so that magically meant that the permanent deeds and the constitutional authority and all that stuff, suddenly that just makes it all go away, right? Well, this is the act of the creation of the VA right here on the congressional record, right? It says that they're getting rid of the National Home for Disabled Volunteer Soldiers, the National Home Program, right? And many other programs. They're going to consolidate them into one department or program called the Veterans Administration. You see here under the authority, blah, 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 the functions of the National Home were consolidated, not deleted, not ended, consolidated. The functions were consolidated with other veterans agencies to form the VA, the head of which is the Administrator of Veterans Affairs. The functions. Well, what's left? The property. But the property of the home and the liabilities for the property, such as permanently maintained, and what it's permanently maintained as. The those will be directly assumed by the United States of America. That's what happened there, right? These are the three biggest things that LANDGRAB knows that they've never ever wanted us to hear, right? That's why they pay for so much. They can't stop saying 388 acres. No matter what gets out there in pay-to-play news, it has to have the 388 in there, even though there's never been a deed for 388. There's not a single soul that can show that. But the reason they do it is shame. Because if you subtract everything stolen, right? Are we seeing this? No, we're not, probably.
Wait, it just okay.
You should have it now. Do you have it?
Yep.
If you look at this map and you get rid of everything that's been stolen and caused the death and the homelessness in our national capital of veteran homelessness, thereby, you're left with about 388 acres, still pretending to be the only land under VA juris. But if you go to the Department of the Interior's records, I don't have them right with me right now, or the U.S. Geological Survey, you'll actually see that there's, right now, it says that about 900 something acres are still right now to this day under VA juris, because the land grab hasn't paid for enough public corruption that they didn't realize they would have to delete those records out too and fabricate them. They missed that one. So that's where the 388 comes from, right? It comes from the same place as that which every single person that you met, Senate, in that building didn't want to say their name or who they work for or what they're doing. When they're on the news, right? When they're on the pay-to-play media, they'll tell you we're the greatest fucking thing in the world. That's why you need to give us like another 30 million or 100 million or 200 million, even though we were lying and saying that we were putting up the money and the VA was broke. Fine, you figured out that we got all that money from you, the federal taxpayers, right? But still, you should applaud us, right, for what we're doing here. But that's in their controlled environment, right? Because when you get out here to reality, that's not pay to play, and you show up there to look at the residents there, they're ashamed. They don't want to say who they are or who they work for or what their title is or what they're doing or what the event is about, because they still feel the guilt that they cannot remove. Now, James Lee did for the first time ever, an excellent presentation of the West Los Angeles Leasing Act and what it is. I've never seen anyone really put this out there before, and I had never met him when he did this, but when he looked at the act itself and the information, he sized up correctly that even the West LA Leasing Act is a fraud. First of all, it was approved by a voice vote in a chamber of Congress that barely had anybody in it. A voice vote is supposed to approve things like a bill to get some money to pay the electrical bill at a bunch of federal facilities, because the payment schedule of when the money will go to those places to pay the bills is going to lag behind when the bills are due. That's the purpose of the voice vote. It's to accelerate stuff through for useful needs. But a lot of times stuff like the entire West LA Leasing Act is rammed through it. And we have videos of this, right? You'll have Ted Lieu or Dianne Feinstein or Mark Takano or Miller or Moran or whoever, Tester. They'll go into an empty room, with a clerk and be like, I present the bill, blah, 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 and let's have a vote. Everybody who says nay, the nobody in there doesn't say anything. And then everybody who says yay, and the one or two members of Congress in there will say yay, it's passed, right? A whole big, massive act. Why am I putting this down? Because this is not the deeds. This leasing act was created to make it seem legal, to start chipping away and having land use purposes that would be other than what is deeded, other than what has proven to be the most effective homeless program in the history of the United States. Look at the homes history from 1888 to 1972 and look at veteran homelessness, let alone homelessness in Los Angeles, because veterans are such a large component of it. Even so, as with so many things, this land grab is so screwed up, it can't even follow the laws that it says that, okay, if we have this corrupt ass law, then we'll be good. We don't need anything else. Whenever they come out, they can't even follow those because they get greedier and greedier. But that's why you have stuff in here that UCLA can get a lease, right? All these different things that are not for deeds. But let me show you what they don't know how to follow that makes everything they have illegal and of no standing. Leases described includes enhanced use leases, right? It says right here. And they have to principally benefit veterans, right? And then it says here, and you know, and then it says here, there's a prohibition on the sale of the property, right? You cannot sell or otherwise convey to a third party the fee simple title to any real property or improvements to real property made at what they start calling for the first time then in 2015 a campus, like a UCLA campus, right? Then you have here laws relating to leases and land use. It says if the inspector general does report that they have to by this act, and the inspector general finds any fraud or land misuse or mismanagement anywhere at the National Soldiers Home, then from that moment forward, once that's lodged, that's a legal power, a federal law mandate that there can be no new land use deals with third parties until every recommendation that is made by the OIG to resolve those issues is satisfied, right? Well, remember, in September of 2018, there was a massive report that said that basically 70% or so of all the third-party land use going on at the Soldiers Home is illegal or mismanaged, right? And there were a bunch of recommendations. The recommendations from that remain open today without lapse. And then all of a sudden, there was another OIG report that came out that, of course, the pay-to-play news doesn't talk about, just last year, that said the way that the HUD-VASH program at the Soldiers Home is being taken over by contractors, and to be fair, let's more accurately call it developers, suddenly saying that they're HUD-VASH social contractors, social services contractors, as well as property managers, as well as lenders, as well as whatever. It goes on and on. And they're everything, right? There were more recommendations because they said this is what you need to do, the OIG says, to solve this mismanagement, because the OIG says last year that the HUD-VASH program's takeover by all these other parties is causing veteran homelessness. It's so bad, it's causing it. I know that by direct witness for sure. I'm very glad to see the OIG said that. So, getting down to the bottom of this, that therefore means, right, since there cannot, but actually, let me just continue on this for a second.
Wait, if you want to reshare your screen. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. Look at this too. See right here, it says prohibition on waiver of obligation of lessee, right? You cannot waive or postpone the obligation of a lessee to pay consideration under enhanced use lease. And getting more nitty gritty here, nothing authorizes this. Nothing authorizes an enhanced use lease. Nothing is to authorize an enhanced use lease that ever provides for, is contingent upon, or otherwise authorizes the federal government to guarantee a loan made by a third party to a lessee for the purposes of the enhanced use lease. Nothing in the subchapter shall be construed to abrogate or constitute a waiver of the sovereign immunity of the United States with respect to any loan, financing, or other financial agreement, right? That's all in there too. So, and we need to talk about what sovereign immunity means too with that. All right, so there you have that. Now, this is the current, as of today, other U.S. code about enhanced use leases. Wherever a statute is in here that conflicts with the Westlake Leasing Act, the Westlake Leasing Act prevails, right? It's made specifically for the Soldiers Home. But there are still sections of this code that do not conflict with it. And so I want to make sure we understand those. It says you can't enter into an enhanced use lease without receiving consideration, money, right? And you can't waive or postpone the obligation of a lessee to pay any consideration under an enhanced use lease. It says, An enhanced use lease cannot provide for any acquisition, contract, demonstration, exchange, grant, incentive, procurement, sale, or other transaction authority, service agreement, use agreement, lease, or lease back by the Secretary of the Fed. It says nothing in the chapter authorizes an enhanced use lease that provides for is contingent upon the federal government to guarantee a loan to the third party. Nothing waives the sovereign immunity. We've already seen that, right? And this is all right here, right? Well, now what's happening, right? Why are we saying this? Maybe it sounds boring right now because we don't know why this is important yet. And that is because for all of these buildings, what's happening, actually, before I get there, by the way, see this? This is the principal developer enhanced use lease, right? Whatever that is. There's an enhanced use lease. There's no such thing as a principal developer enhanced use lease, just like there's no such thing as an enhanced use sublease. This is just shit they make up, these developers. What's the date on it? A couple days after I was arrested for talking about this in an open public session of a federal public meeting of an advisory board that's supposed to improve outcomes for homeless veterans, namely the homeless veterans that Steve Peck and Tess Banco and the developers requested a police task force to block from entering their meeting and speaking. Literally, right? And they sat inside and ate cake and pushed Senate out. So yeah, that was a couple days after that. They did this big thing that they're saying is an enhanced use lease. In the preamble, what's called kind of like the introduction, the preface of this thing, it makes some recitals. In other words, this is just an introduction of some shit we're going to say. And in there, before it gets to the real part of this illegal contract, it says 388 acres. It's a campus. And somehow, some way, nobody knows, this doesn't tell you how, there's going to be hundreds of units of housing created somewhere that has something to do with this. And then we're done with the subject of housing forever for the rest of these 88 pages. Right? By page 3 or 4, we're done with the topic of housing, and they get into the real shit. And what the rest of it also all says is that this is not an enhanced use lease for a certain building to provide housing for homeless veterans. It's actually a big joke of an illegal contract that says, because we're worried and we're, shitting bricks and we're scared because advocacy and public awareness is developing, we're doing a big blanket, put our hands in, no take backs reserve of every single building and parking lot that we haven't stolen yet. We're putting dibs on it, right? We're calling it because we want to make sure that no one else, like the federal government, can keep it and keep building housing and remodeling housing there like it always has, and keep housing and serving homeless veterans there, right? We're putting our dibs on it to make sure nobody gets in. So get the boxes out there without the toilets and sink, stuff them in there and make sure they die, because we can't get them in these buildings here that we haven't stolen yet, right? And it talks about how they're going to do leasehold mortgages, encumbrances on the property, tax credit, sublessee rights, right? What happens if somebody defaults, right? All of this completely illegal crap that, as we just went over here, and this is only lightly touching upon it, as we just saw in the laws, whether you look at the Constitution, whether you look at what California is not supposed to do, whether you look at what the Westlake Leasing Act says, and whether you look at what some statutes of the other statutes in the code say about enhanced use leases, bonds of security, everything is illegal here. But the one thing that you don't even have to argue about this, that makes it all illegal right out the gate, no further discussion necessary, is it's done on June 29th, 2022. The OIG findings that are still unresolved were in 2018. And if this was legal, it would be called a new lease. End of story. The principal developers have nothing other than what they need to answer to in the criminal justice system of our United States of America under the RICO Act. Who signed this enhanced use lease?
Not the secretary, right?
That's correct. As the Westlake Leasing Act says, only the secretary can enter into an enhanced use lease. Only. That's a non-delegable authority. In fact, elsewhere in the Westlake Leasing Act, it even expressly says, we're going to make one exemption for one certain thing that doesn't have to do with entering into a lease, and expressly allow the secretary an authority to delegate notifying Congress of one thing, right? It is not delegable. If you want to delegate as a secretary the authority, you have to change the law. And by the way, when you do it, you better make sure it's a law that aligns with the deeds in the Constitution. So here we have on the signature page, John J. Rychalski, basically at the time a brand new chief financial officer of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. This guy does not even have a CPA license. Literally. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs is the biggest health provider on planet Earth, and has a CPA, has a CFO that doesn't even have an accounting license. It's because this guy came in here to sign this shit, right? This is public corruption. And by the way, he's been removed. He's not there anymore. This administration has relieved him. So there's stuff in here. They talk about master associations that they're going to run, parcelization like it's a condominium tract. And of course, they talk about how much alcohol can be sold, retail, right? They talk about mixed use. From page 4 or 5 on, all the way to the end, it doesn't say a thing about how veterans are going to be housed and served, right? And then this is the other thing these developers have been working on. The town center, the little old town center. Well, the little old town center that they called themselves stakeholders in, of having the federal government pick up the tab for a supposed like really important brochure that they call some kind of empirical report by the Urban Land Institute. What they're saying is like this mega mall, they kind of wanted to take the whole place up, right? They wanted to take up just about the whole damn place, right? Here it is. See like how they lay all this stuff out, right? Is that building one? Is that, no, that's not them. Right. And then, hey, what about, it's in here somewhere, right? A hotel. Oh, I mean, sorry, a veteran hotel, right? A veteran hotel, right? The veteran hotel, right? We can take some of these housing buildings too and make it a hotel, right? Well, I think we're all getting the picture now of whether it's, building 402, 404, these new buildings, whatever, of why there's a really strange, inexplicable, senseless excuse for why like the first floors of all these buildings have to be offices or like a 4,000 square foot community room or like just a big ass hall or, a smart locker or whatever, a water fountain for the veteran people because they can't drink where the white collar criminals drink. And it's because they have a plan for a mixed use downtown Brentwood, downtown Westwood. It's always been that way with them. Steve Peck himself has been at this since the 1980s. I wish I had that stuff ready right now to show you, but that's a fact. And by the way, Steve, you got a problem with it? Come on down. Let's talk about it. If you can figure out a way to start talking to veterans or advocates, and you are a veteran, but it's pretty sad. Makes it even sadder that you can't do this. And I mean, Senate, when we were at the VCOAB and you had this corrupt Brett Sims guy from the Office of Enterprise Management, right, from the VA, was he saying, he said, quote unquote, he said something like, we're going to need a lot of tricks to pull this hotel off, right? This is what they want. This is what they're doing. This is why they can't look someone in the eye, and they don't want veterans around. They don't want anything around to remind them of what they can't shake the guilt for. But it's not enough of a guilty feeling to shake the greed and the lack of remorse for all of the death and homelessness that they absolutely well know is happening. Now they know it even better, because now that they've taken over some buildings, such as Building 207 that had 110 veterans and now has 59, right? Hey, first floor takes up space. They know because they're also watching these veterans die. They're involved with these folks through their subsidiaries or their partners. You have $30 million grants going out, 20 million, $10 million grants going out to do everything the VA was doing at the soldier's home, right? Now it's going to be the developers wearing a different hat. They're going to do it, but we're going to need 10, 20, $30 million to do it every year. But they don't do it. They give them a cooking class and they say, die. And they do. The county coroner comes to pick them up all the time. I get pictures sent to me all the time. County coroner's here again, right? In every one of those buildings. And they're dying at exponentially greater rates than what happens in the last program left that the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has any substantial operations in, that they haven't been kicked out of yet, which is the domiciliary. The domiciliary is the only one left that's providing services because the VA is there, barely. Everywhere else, have a cooking class, go to hell and die. Don't forget your rent. We'll kick you out. That's the second rent, right? There are veterans, residents who are in these buildings that are scraping as little as CalFresh money, right, off their cards and forgoing eating to pay the 160% above market rate rents of stolen buildings. And these buildings, these enhanced use whatevers, right, don't exist. These developers, whatever they call themselves, different thing every day, they're getting money. When have you ever lived in a place and paid for a lease? Like, oh, no, I'm going to go lease an apartment or a house or whatever. And you go and you sign a deal and then you say, okay, great, give me a chunk of money. And you don't pay any lease payments. I heard that maybe some of the new construction buildings, like maybe building 404 or something, maybe there's some kind of payment going on out on that for the first time. But you know what the payment is on 207? Nothing. They're getting in the contract even like a $10 or $20 million slush fund from the VA. The poor little broke VA, right? They've been lying all this time about privately fighting crap. And they're taking even more money while they're getting rid, as I said, of the second thing, besides the veterans you have to get rid of to steal everything, the federal government. And then they're running media campaigns and propaganda saying, okay, you may have heard, the word's getting out, there's some messed up shit over here. So by the way, it's the federal government. You need to hate your own country and yourself because you're part of the federal government so you don't catch that we're involved with it. Is the federal government have any hand in this? Absolutely, it does. But it's a very different hand. It's a hand of public corruption. It's a hand of people getting bribed or otherwise being bribed through things that the IRS calls things of imputed value, right? One way or another, they're getting some. Brett Sims, you cannot convince me that guy's not bribed one way or another, for sure. I mean, that guy needs to, right? He needs to rat. But that's the problem that's on the federal government side. There's public corruption and bribes going, as we even saw, right, with Ralph Tillman, who went to prison a couple years ago for bribes with a third-party parking lot operation. That's the problem that is in the federal government. Bribes, public corruption. And unlike a private third party or private company, private property, we have tools and rights, if we care to try to fix that, to demand and advocate and go in and change laws and shut down bad bills and hold people to the fire and have free speech and have a right to audit and look at what everybody's doing to a great extent. It's an incredible power because I'm a total fucking hack. I wouldn't be able to do anything without those powers, right? You don't have any of that. If it's an illegal privatized takeover and suddenly the group think is that, oh, it's now private, right? There, all that goes out the window. And by the way, when the VA goes out the window, right, there goes everybody's disability, everybody's medical, everybody's mortgage help, buy a home program, all of that, right? You lose your country, you lose your funding, you lose all of it. And they know it, right? So That's why you have this whole thing now going on like, hey, veterans, don't look at us. You and the VA need to go and get in the ring and beat each other off of this land so we can finish the job. That's what they think is a game, but it's not, because look at all the death that it's resulting in endlessly. By midnight tonight, there'll be another 2 in LA County alone, at least, and another 8 or plus or more in the nation whom don't have the full capacity of the National Soldiers Home that is theirs, that they've earned by service. An unwanted an unwanted mishap of disability and or homelessness. What veteran wants to go serve and be disabled or homeless? Like, is that like, man, whoa, they got it good? Those lucky guys, they don't deserve all that. We fucking creeps do. No. So let's take a look at these subleases. And by the way, you know what this is? This is a community plan. Right? Look at this image right here for community plan. What the fuck is that? This is a community plan. The community plan is not a master plan. It's something totally different in a big brochure that's saying like, hey, we can do a bunch of other shit here. And then what they do is they attach it to a master plan and they say, no, that's the master plan. It just has a community plan section. That's not the master plan. All this stuff in here with the same people on the credit roll of this building that you don't see any housing units in, that Senate walk by that plaque, they're all right. They're right here too, right? This is their community plan and they pay for it, right? But even the master plan, even the master plan, Thomas Saffron even so told us on camera, he slipped the lip and said he paid for it. So the master plan is not even made by our government. It's just a lie. Just like why the whole website for everything having to do with the master plan is not a federal government website. It's a private website, and the owners of that website and the operators of that website pay a service to anonymize and hide their identities. You are not going to find a master plan and a community plan, any of that stuff, or even an enhanced use lease, copy of an enhanced use lease agreement on any federal government website. It's all right in front of our face. They just think we're stupid. They don't realize they're the ones who are stupid. So you see what this is right here? This is what's called, if any of you have listened to the incredible interview Senate did with someone who was then the vice president, executive vice president of a company in charge of overseeing unethically the fraud that's going on at the soldiers' home. He blew the whistle very bravely, and he provided us a lot of things that we couldn't even have this discussion right now if it weren't for him. And that's that's a life-saving thing, in my opinion. And here, what you see, it says legal description, right? Well, other than in these secret illegal sublease contracts that are pretending to be these private things that the federal government has nothing to do with, they're only recorded with the county, and the Fed is not a party to it. And because they're saying it's a sublease between two private companies, nobody needs to tell us what they're doing, right?
Can you make it a little bigger?
Yeah, well, yeah. Other than in those secret illegal deals, right? Without the federal government. This legal description thing, and in many other places they call it the legal description of real property, the legal description of property, the legal description, right, of everything on the EUL. If you look at every single one of these EULs that has been released to the public, the copies of the enhanced use leases, what follows below the legal description of the property is blank pages. There's nothing. So on the enhanced, that master, I got dibs on stealing this, make sure you don't put homeless veterans in until we get it, that they call the master enhanced use principal developer lease or whatever, a year or so after no new leases, according to the Westlake Leasing Act. Even the legal description of all the property there is a blank page. Again, the shame and the guilt. You can't show it. It's that bad, right? Because manslaughtering homeless, disabled veterans every single day throughout our nation is not an easy guilt to shake. I can feel you there, crooks. But once they get to the sublease, illegal sublease agreements, right? Suddenly there's a legal description of the property on every single one of them. And you know what the legal description of the property is on every single one of them? Only the National Soldiers' Homes land. They're so greedy, they didn't even take the time to add the building it's supposed to be all about. It's about the land. They're thieves. Every single sublease agreement. They're like, oh, well, we're nobody sees us now. We'll admit it's the land that you can't transfer, encumber, mortgage, whatever, the title of, right? Sell, repossess, default, whatever. So let's take a look at those subleases now. Let's take a look at a sample of one. And this is just like the way that they are on the, I'm sure that they're going to be on these buildings, 156 and 157 or whatever, but I don't have those open right now. I haven't read them yet, so I didn't want to present them. So that's my caveat. But all the others I've seen so far are all the same. And so here they are. Let me go to this. I have to open my email. Bear with me for 1 second here. Sorry about my voice.
You're pulling up another document, right?
Yeah, I'm going to switch my share.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Here's what you've never seen before. I just took screen grab excerpts really quick, underlined stuff. By the way, we all remember Brian DeAndrea here, right? Remember that guy? And here's him in 2022 disassociating himself from the West LA Veterans Collective and Century West LA VA1 Limited Partnership, which has 404 and 402 buildings or whatever. What you're looking at here is the waiver and transfer of the obligation of the lessee, as it says in the West LA Leasing Act, illegally. He's leaving here, and as we'll see, a lot more is happening than that in violation of that law in 2022. By the way, here's something from the land title company, right? I think this is the building 404 deal, right? They're creating something called an enhanced use sublessor. And what's here? It says certain real property located in LA, California, described in Exhibit A, attached to this instrument, the land, right? They're saying the enhanced use lease it's given them ability to transfer title to the land attached to this instrument. We can see what happens with the title too pretty soon. Look at these. Look at some of these excerpts. Borrower represents and warrants that borrower is lawfully seized of the mortgage property and has the right, power, and authority to grant, convey, and assign the mortgage property. The mortgage property is unencumbered except for that permanent leasehold deed of trust with absolute assignment of leases and rents, security agreement, and fixture filing encumbering the mortgage property executed by the borrower for the benefit of the government lender. By the way, the government lender is not the government. I'll show you that in a second. As assigned by governmental lender to Wells Fargo as security. Borrower covenants that borrower will warrant and defend generally the title to the mortgage property against all claims and demands subject to any easements, restrictions, and other matters in any title insurance report, whatever. What this is saying right here is then when you get fucked with, or when I get fucked with, or when anyone gets fucked with for going against these crimes, Wells Fargo says, don't worry, we'll take care of that. We'll pay for that. We'll go after it. It doesn't say we'll obey the law. It just says if something comes up like that, we'll take care of it, right? I mean, tell me it doesn't. Borrower acknowledges that the grant, mortgage, deed of trust, deed to secure debt, security interest, or other lien encumbrance on the mortgage property otherwise approved by lender at sole discretion, whether voluntary or by operation of law, and whether or not such lien has priority over the lien of this instrument constitutes an event of default. Limited partner shall have the right but not the obligation to cure any such failure to comply with a default. If an event of a default has occurred and continuing, the lender at the lender's option may declare the indebtedness to be immediately due and payable without further demand, and may invoke the power of sale. Borrower acknowledges that the power of sale granted in this instrument may be exercised by lender without prior judicial hearing. This is fucking fantasy land. If the power of sale is invoked, the lender shall execute a written notice to the occurrence of an event of default and of lender's election to cause the mortgage property to be sold, and the notice to be recorded in each county in which the mortgage property or some part of the mortgage property is located. Trustee shall give notice of default and notice of sale and shall sell the mortgage property according to California law. Trustee may sell the mortgage property at a time and place under the terms designated, right? In other words, we can do whatever we want. We can sell it. We can mortgage it. We can transfer it. We can not house veterans in it, whatever. And by the way, somewhere in here, I don't think I have the excerpt up. It says the only covenant that they have on any of this shit to maintain is that it's provided, or that some to all units are provided for low to moderate income multifamily residential renters for 15 years. What we're looking at here, right? We're looking at the documents recorded with the county only of these agreements that don't have anything that don't involve the federal government as a party. And each building is like a thick stack, right? A thick stack that they could put that thick stack there, but they didn't seem to think that they had enough paper in the printer to also print out even the enhanced use lease that's illegal, because it says too much about the land still being deed restricted or federal, right? You can't have that, right? They're planting a seed that they want to incubate and grow over 10 or 15 years, to where people 10 or 15 years later will have no idea about this and think that that's the way it all is, when it's ripe to steal after they've made all the contract money and all the rent money and all the things that are extorted from the veterans that are lucky enough to get the voucher and not be manslaughtered and left out to die, that had the home in the first place, where these people have no right to be there at all. Right? Now let's look at something crazy here. You see here it says the borrower is called West LA VA 1 Limited Partnership, right? Care of Century Affordable Development. That's the borrower. And you see here we have, forget that. And then you see here, right? This is Century West LA VA 1 Limited Partnership. And the state of California on October 26, 2022, the West LA Veterans Collective, the illegal enhanced use lessee, has suddenly given up and walked away from that LP. That LP that is a paper company that is holding what they call the land of the soldier's home and the building and everything of 404 in that company. It's all been transferred into there, and now the supposed principal developer has run away. Well, what happens to it then? What happens to it after the partners disassociate by breaking the West LA Leasing Act because they can't waive or, transfer their obligations, let alone transfer the title into the land that this criminal conspiracy is all about? Hopefully I have it here. I may not have it here. Maybe send it, you have it, but funding lender before conversion, Wells Fargo Bank. I really hope I can find this. Otherwise, you'll just have to trust me.
Which document?
Oh, here we go. Investor limited partner, Wells Fargo. So we got the lender and the limited partner, Wells Fargo. And the part I'm missing, but you can absolutely trust me that it's in all of these deals. It just matters if it's Wells Fargo or a U.S. bank or a different bank. What's happening with all these limited partnerships is when secretly the enhanced use lessee principal developer that still shows up like a some kind of figurehead, acting like they're still in the game. Literally, 99.99% of that LP, with all the land laundered into it and everything, saying it's a private company with private funding, is given away and taken over by the bank. And so now what you have for each of these shams, only recorded with the county, and they don't put anything in there, the federal stuff in there. It says basically, I'm not coloring this at all, that the ones providing the loan, right, to the borrower, right, is Wells Fargo in the case of these buildings, right, and the limited partnership that is the borrower that's applied for the loan and getting the funds is 99.99% Wells Fargo. They're making a loan to themselves. They control both sides of the loan. And of course, what is it all about? Property to be stolen. What do you think the odds are that there might be a plan somewhere here to fabricate a default on the loan and repossess the land and illegally sell it? Whoops! I defaulted on my own loan. Oh, shucks. I guess I can go take the property now and reconvey and sell and transfer it and do whatever. But, and I can do that 15 years later because, see, we had all this shit recorded with the county, man. It was here the whole time. That's the sham of the subleases. The sublease is used illegally. The non-existent enhanced use sublease that can't exist is created to create a relationship between two private companies, right? The government, the public corruption in the government and the land grab do a deal between each other to make an illegal enhanced use lease. But that's an agreement between the government, the thing that we can audit and look into and have a voice in and can shut down and have a power to arrest people and put them in jail for. The land grab doesn't want that around, right? And they can't abide by the laws. So what they do is they take the enhanced use lessee and they make a new relationship between that and another private company that they are also, which is why you see two people, the same people signing the same deals. And they say, here is a private business transaction between a private company called the enhanced use sublessor to the enhanced use sublessee. And now we're going to say, because this is a private contract, we don't need to tell anybody. We don't need to tell the people of the United States. We don't need to tell the federal government. We don't need to tell the FBI or the SEC or FinCEN, depending on the level of international investment. We don't need to tell anybody about that. Now it can all be secret. It's private property, private land. It's all a big lie, right? So that's what's happening with all these. And you probably saw, look, reconveyance clauses. I'll tell you one of my favorite clauses in this is, watch this. They call the land collateral possession, right? Permanent deeds seem to mean something here, right? They'll use permanent all over the place in these agreements, but not with the deed to the soldier's home. Let's see here. I'm looking for this one clause. Waiver of marshaling. To the extent permitted, borrower waives the benefit of all present or future laws providing for any appraisement before sale of any portion of mortgage property, all rights, stay of execution, and marshaling. What this is saying is, oh, by the way, we're also agreeing with ourselves that nobody's allowed to call in the marshals and get us out of here. We have to do it all as a big, very civil, professional criminal process, right? You're not even allowed to arrest us, But then there's a clause too in all these that say at the very end, by the way, if any of this ends up being illegal and you sue us and you go through all this stuff and there's more death of veterans by homelessness at taxpayers' public expense in the national capital of veteran homelessness because we're stealing land and getting the VA out of here. Okay, yeah, we don't know. All these attorneys that we have here that are like the best attorneys that came out of the best schools and everything like that, that are paid a ton of money, they didn't realize anything was illegal. And that's why we put this clause here that says, gee willikers, I guess you're right. 5 years later, after litigation, we'll change that one little part. But everything's sold by then, right? It's all sold off. Oh, what can we do now? Nothing, right? We can just shop at the mega mall. Take the purple line there, right? So that's what I have to say. No, that's what the United States has to say, and the Constitution has to say, and the highest law of the land of the state of California has to say, from a federal standpoint, about private property and private residences where residences don't even appear to exist, where you just were, Senate. That's what the United States has to say about it. And also, these are the things right here that they did not have the guts to answer you about, because it's a very shameful guilt. And the reason I wanted to do this tonight is when I saw you in there mentioning, you can't have this enhanced use lease on deeds restricted property, and it's killing veterans. It's a really strong statement, and I want to make sure that we all know that it's a true statement. It's correct. There's more evidence for that than there's anything that they can do. I mean, they can't even give us a deed for 388 acres, right? It's really happening, right? These people are really, truly dying. And what's even worse about it, since we're taxpayers, they are too. We're paying for it. And the last thing I'll say, which is a little outside of this topic, is, believe it or not, let me switch the share here. The PACT Act. Can we share this? This is actually the biggest reason I think I got unlawfully arrested before the Department of Justice threw it out when they found out about it at the public meeting that I was registered to speak at, where I peacefully spoke at. Because the fraud of sticking this amendment into the PACT Act was in progress. There's a section, what is it, 705, 702, I can't remember the name of the section anymore. But basically, Tester, with the help of Takano, had done a floor amendment on the floor of the Senate, and then sent it back to the House. The PACT Act that had already been passed in the House in April before. And the PACT Act would have been passed, right? And you heard all this stuff on the pay-to-play media that, oh my God, partisan politics have delayed the PACT Act. No, they weren't. What happened was Tester submitted a floor amendment that said we can take $1 billion of the budget that in the current version of the PACT Act is going to provide medical care for the first time to burn pit victims and Agent Orange victims, right? The first time. They fought for it for 10 years, right? Died waiting for it. So many of them. We're going to take $1 billion of that money and say we can give it to the enhanced use lessees to build the shit they want to while pretending that they're doing it with their own private money. And you know what they did with roughly over $300 million of it so far since that amendment went through? Is that they were building infrastructure and stealing even the utilities, the water and power, privatizing all that even under the land, and getting a piece of those services and creating like companies organizing in the state of California as like serialized companies to just put these things in here and redeveloping them to try to handle a mega mall capacity, a hotel capacity, right? Especially if you're not going to get rid of Brentwood School in their mind, right? Who's flushing the toilet and using water and power, 1,000 students and 500 staff every single day, right? Don't want to provide that capacity back to the veterans who are homeless and disabled that can only be there instead of them. You got over $300 million going out, and I don't even know if a cent of this money has ever gone to anyone other than this fraud at the soldiers' home. There are enhanced use leases all over the country, right? I don't think any of this money went to any of those. I think it's all gone so far to the National Soldiers' Home, right? And they're out there spending the burn pit victim and Agent Orange Pit victim's medical care budget on fraud. Frauds that these racketeers are turning around and then saying we own them, right? Without paying for any of it. So the last thing I want to show you is this is not just a domestic matter. The way that the money is being laundered in a lot of these sublease frauds, conspiracies, federal criminal conspiracy, right? Not conspiracy theory. What's happening is a lot of the money is originating, or a lot of the bonds or cash is originating on these loans that Wells Fargo is making or U.S. banks making. The money oftentimes is coming from the taxpayers, and then it's run through a conduit. And by the time it comes out the other end of the conduit, they're treating it as if it were private money from private investors. And then Wells Fargo or whatever lender gets the money, and it's as if they're lending their own private money for the private property, right? The private land and all that stuff. And that is how they create the facade of equity in it, right? That's how they're trying to fabricate a mirage that, oh, but that was private money, and so we have equity now for investing the private money in the land we're stealing, just like the private money, right? And if you look at one of these conduits, say that's in several of these buildings, right? You've got the California Community Reinvestment Corporation, right? It sounds like some kind of government state agency or whatever. It's not. It's a private entity. And you can see here that the investors that, right, are claiming, tabs on this privatized public money, often originating from the federal government, but also coming, thanks to Gavin Newsom, out of the CalVets budget, often. As that gets laundered through, it starts getting stamped with the names of the banking partners as the private investors, such as the Bank of Montreal, the Bank of the Orient, the Cathay Bank, I think that's Singapore, East West Bank, China, International Chinese Banking, International and Commercial Bank of China, state-owned, right? HSBC, British, Hanmi Bank, Korean, SBI, State Bank of India. What's going on here, as if it weren't bad enough, is now you practically have National Soldiers Home land. Instead of it saving the lives and caring for the lives of disabled and homeless veterans, right? And instead of suppressing the living shit out of information like this from getting anywhere to the public's ears and eyes as much as possible, with as much retaliation and hazing as possible that these criminals can muster up at times throughout decades, right? It's even worse. This stuff is being unitized and assetized and sold and repossessed or planning to be conveyed or repossessed, whatever, however you look at it, on the world market. And when we're talking about federal government land that has a permanent purpose to not only maintain the health and well-being and the housing of soldiers, military soldiers who become veterans, but obviously we also know that the more you see the fraud happen, the more people don't want to enlist and serve the military. The more the families of these defrauded and dead veterans, victims who are slandered to die on the streets, where now even on the streets, Karen Bass and Governor Newsom have gone to make a way to arrest them. So they can't even be there, right? Unconstitutionally. They went to Oregon for that one. It's a national security problem. You're laundering federal government land into equity holdings of state-owned Chinese banks. Yes, right? So the last thing I want to say here, Senate, is, Tess Benko, I mean, she's pretty low on the totem pole. when you're talking about this whole thing, but you know, not only do these people go and refuse to tell you anything, right, and say it's for veterans, while the only veterans it's for are not in there, and they don't even want to let him have water and don't want to let them in either. They want you arrested. They want this not to be heard so bad and not to be seen so bad that they'll even SWAT you and try to get a police officer who, by their relations to the federal government, is also a victim of this. And by the way, many of them are disabled veterans, right? And most of them are veterans. Okay. They want you to be arrested. They want to abuse and exploit the law to have you arrested. Well, you know what? Tess Benko, I demand that you be arrested. I demand that you be taken in with Stephen Peck and with all of these folks, so you can start ratting out under a RICO case. I think the FBI needs to go grab you right now and haul you in, and you need to talk, because there actually is some substantial evidence here, if not abundantly substantial evidence, that your ass needs to be hauled in, not Senate's. I'm sorry to have to say this to you, but remember, you're the one who did this first. You're the one who tried to arrest someone lawfully with good purpose, trying to do the right thing for the people that are dying from this while his tax money is being stolen. So I'm sorry, but I think that's time. That's all I have to say.
Well, I appreciate. I mean, I learned so much from you over the course of 5 years or 5 years or so or more. I think I just lost my internet. There we go. Am I back? But no, I appreciate everything you've shared and all the research you've done to expose this obvious fraud and corruption. When I first saw the tents there on San Vicente, I had no clue as to what it was. And I mean, the amount of information you've been able to gather that, has educated me and been able to then educate others has been instrumental. So I appreciate that. I was going to just share one thing for 60 seconds before, but, there's a handful of postcards and things that I know you have been collecting as well. And, if everything, you never find the word campus or anything like that regarding any of this stuff other than the propaganda. It's always soldiers home, and I think that's important. And the other thing I was just going to pull up real quick here was, if anybody is interested, of course, there's a lot of documents that I think you shared, and it's not as organized or well put. Give me 1 second here. I'm just going to share this. Just going to share this real quick. Let me just find the page. And then, give me 1 second here. Lost the window. But basically, I wanted to let people be able to find. Give me 1 second here. I think my internet was getting a little strange here and there. Here it is. Share. So let me just share this. So all I wanted to share was, if anyone wants to look up some of this stuff as well, there is a link, there's a tab, Soldiers Home, at the top on MrCheckpoint.com, and you can definitely find a handful of different things. But if you go to the actual first post, so you'd have to go to the second page, then you click on this one, and it says Exposing Misconduct at the West LA VA Soldiers Home. There's these interview excerpts that, 7 to 8, 10 minutes long each. But here, there's a link that says many documents regarding Village for Vets, the principal developer, veterans, collective, pro forma, subleases, and more, all regarding the West Los Angeles VA Soldiers Home, were shared. View those documents here. That's clickable. And many of which, and then a lot more, again, not as organized, but you can click on this sublease agreement. Here's some buildings. Some are executed, some are not. And I just want the public to know that they can really dive into all of this, look at it. And this has all been made public by a whistleblower, as Ryan mentioned. And that's how you can find a handful of things and look it up, check it out. And that was it. That's all I wanted to mention. and I appreciate you sharing all this. It was definitely hard to digest and watch that, and I've unfortunately seen too much, not just death, but just problems and mayhem and abuse, and all caused by these third parties and developers. And so it's been important for me to continue exposing, and I appreciate everything you've shared.
Likewise with you too. It's I can't really say enough how much your attention and support and intellect in this, has been to really move things along. It's like integral to it. So, and I know that a lot of other people feel that way too. So, thanks for that.
And then this is episode, I mean, we've done 2 other live streams, I believe, right? I think. Actually, no, 3. So we
yeah.
did one with a veteran resident, George, that lives in one of the boxes, maybe a week ago. So you could check that out. There was 2 more we did before. Those are on YouTube. So you're more than welcome to check those out. You could check out the link we've shared at that MrCheckpoint. You go to the Soldiers Home tab. And yeah, we'll keep exposing and sharing and raising awareness.
Sounds good. Thank you for this.
Thank you. I'm gonna
And by the way,
go ahead.
that must have been pretty uncomfortable to go do that and go over there. I mean, you obviously kept your cool and how you're acting and stuff, but I mean, that must have been pretty nerve-wracking and freaky. Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in school and stuff, and my focus is trying to stay out of trouble. And so to see people like all gathered up and huddled to try to get the cops to do something, is very uncomfortable. And, people were certainly in my face trying to block me. I'm certainly outnumbered, and physically, getting in my way, saying obviously rude stuff. But the truth is none of that's going to stop me. I've seen way too much harm that those people have caused. And unfortunately, because a lot of the work you've done and research, I know enough to know that it is a fraud. It is causing death. And until the public is aware, I'm sick and tired of continuing to see the propaganda and the BS that celebrates these people. And I've unfortunately stayed quiet at too many of those and felt horrible after. And so I think as they've continued, I've probably been more vocal sooner than not. So I don't anticipate that changing. And hopefully they go and they leave and they realize that the advocacy and the people who are becoming aware, I mean, the amount of messages I'm getting that says, can we show up? Can we protest? Where, when, how? Is definitely growing, and there's an appetite to get rid of fraud. That's any fraud, any stealing of any tax dollars, let alone one that causes such disgusting death and then is a national security crisis. So we'll just stay on it and at it.
Yep. Well, I don't know if they have the capacity to leave, but I definitely know they're going. So we'll see.
All right. Appreciate you.